Mushrooms are a lot like that one friend who is always talking and it kind of annoys you, but at the same time you love him cause you know he's always keeping it real with you. So if you are fiending for a third eye awakening on some Dragon Ball Super shit, you better be ready for the shroomy shrooms to take you through the depths of your unconscious, where it will dig out and highlight questions about your very fabric of existence, like, who am I? Why are we here? Do I like men? But anyway, that doesn't happen the very instant you eat the shrooms. In fact, the stages of a mushroom trip are so different, each one of them could be considered a substance of their own. But the first stage everyone experiences is Stage 1, Ingestion/Comeup. Right after consuming those Mario power-ups, you might feel your stomach twist and turn a bit, as your body is signaling to you, this shit was not food, wasn't it? But thankfully, it's usually pretty minor and goes away after a few minutes. While waiting for the shrooms to kick, you probably stare at a bunch of random objects hoping to find some type of moving pattern, cause that's what shrooms are supposed to do, right? Well, yeah, kind of, but after 30 minutes goes by and you're still staring at the wall with no sign of visual hallucinations, you probably think to yourself, man, I got scammed, didn't I? But then you start really thinking about it. Are you feeling something? And then you think about the next thing, and the next thing, and then you might laugh at something completely random like this picture of SpongeBob, and boom, you now realize they weren't duds, and you're about to go on a journey, bro. Also, after all this, you probably move on to Stage 2, Questions that lead to more questions. You're at the point now where you know the shroom's kicking, but you don't really see any visuals except for maybe the increased significance of every object, but the main thing is you have started questioning everything you know, but not in a scary way of nothing matters, there is no point. More of a, man, I love hanging out with Charlie. Wait, do I though? What type of person is he actually? He's friendly, but kinda secretive and keeps to himself. What is he keeping to himself? Could he be a totally different person? Am I becoming a better person by hanging out with him? What is going on? So yeah, this stage can be very eye-opening to some, especially if you're the type of person to hang on to problems and worries instead of facing them. Because however hard you try not to think about something, the shrooms won't let you. And although it might seem like that's a bad thing, it's actually not. And you should treat this time of the trip to pinpoint the main questions you would like to receive some type of answers to by the end. Because soon after, you're gonna go to Stage 3. Holy shit! The mushrooms are now almost at full effect, and you're definitely seeing some hallucinations, like moving patterns, disfigured items, wavy hands, etc. But to be honest, that isn't really the main thing, because if you approach this trip with the right mindset, as in you wanted to actually take something with you to the real world afterwards, then currently you are most likely intensely trying to piece together the answers to the questions you highlighted on the previous stage. But it ain't as easy as it seems. It feels like you were constantly on a breakthrough to something really important and significant, but then you lose it and have to start again with the pieces you left off with. But if you stick with it, you'll always figure something out. Maybe not the full picture, but something. Also, you shouldn't blame yourself if you start talking or thinking about something that you feel is very amazing, but then halfway through realize you literally pondering about the implications of the evolution of the Pringles Man logo, bruh. But not to worry, that's the beauty of shrooms. They make you think about everything on a deeper level, and if you can find the correct things to think about through the clutter of Matrix conspiracy theories, you'll still emerge victorious. Speaking about emerging, the next stage is Stage 4. The slow come down. You are now slowly coming down from the shrooms, which is indicated by the fact you don't see as many trippy patterns anymore, but also you're more realistic in your thoughts as well. Also, at this point, you probably aren't bouncing from thought to thought as much anymore and have chosen a definitive couple of things to think about. And with those things, you will find answers, but also a lot of new questions, which can be frustrating, well, until you get to the next and final stage. Stage 5. Journey complete. At this point, you have almost completely came down from the magic, but not really, because although you don't see any hallucinations anymore, you feel more in touch with reality and yourself. The best way I can describe this stage is like it's the fruit of your labor. This is the stage where you've gone through the constant questions and search for answers and come out victorious. Best way I can describe it is like you're high off some Zaza, but with a much clearer head. So this is the perfect time to play some video games, watch a movie, or do really anything you find fun. Dabs, the world's strongest saw, or so I have been told. In reality, dabs can't really be considered the world's strongest saw because it's technically not weed anymore, it's the extract of it. And although there are natural and unnatural ways to extract that THC, the end result is always the same: super potent, sticky, icky wax. You see, wax is like the express lane of cannabis. If the express lane was designed to launch you into a height so intense, you'll wonder if you just got teleported. It's a concentrated form of cannabis where all the THC and terpenes have been extracted from the plant into a sticky wax-like substance. Think of it as the espresso shot of weed. It's quick, potent, and designed to get you where you're going fast. Wax generally contains anywhere from 60 to 90% THC. That's right, you're basically inhaling a THC rocket launcher. A little dab, literally a small dot of wax, is enough to send you to the moon and back in no time, which, let's be honest, might be exactly what you're looking for, but anyway, the extraction process typically involves solvents like butane or CO2, which separate the THC from the plant material. The result is a gooey concentrate that can resemble something between honey and a gummy bear's worst nightmare. And if you think it looks a little sus, that's because it probably should. Just make sure you know what you're doing with the dab rig, or you might end up with an accidental science experiment that doesn't go quite as planned. Now, you might be wondering, CBD bro, what's the difference between like strong bud and dabs, eh? What's up with that? Glad you asked, my little munchkin. Bud typically contains around 15 to 25% THC, depending on the strain and how good your dealer is. This means it's still potent, but you won't be crossing into a parallel universe with a single puff. You get a slower, more gradual high that builds up over time, kind of like gently being rocked into a nice little nap. Unlike wax, which is concentrated and intense, Bud is the slower burner of the weed world. Sure, you'll still get high, but it's more of a let's hang out and take our time with this situation. Like sipping on a glass of wine versus chugging a bottle of tequila. You'll get the same effect, but one will probably leave you with fewer regrets. To put it simply, wax is like the hardcore version of cannabis, while bud is like the I'm just here to enjoy myself version. Both will get you high, but one will probably make you rethink your life just a little bit. So what made me want to try dabs in the first place? Well, you see, as the modern day Columbus, I like to view myself as a discoverer, and having tried every type of grass besides wax, it kind of bugged me that I didn't have any knowledge of the latter. And so, for science, my own personal curiosity, and educational purposes, I decided to test it out so I can stand here and tell you not to try it. Here is my experience with the dabs. Let me set the scene for you. I have been in Florida smoking up every day on that not CBD Zaza legal nationwide, baby. Don't get high off your own supply, they say. But since the supply was in a warehouse, I thought it didn't apply. Problem was, with 24/7 online access to premium bud, I got my tolerance up to levels I honestly didn't think was possible for me. But Florida is not the place this story takes place. It was just a prologue. After building up a Dracula castle-sized fort of tolerance in my body for 2 months, I flew my badonkadonk to Denver, Colorado, where Za is legal on the state level. And I don't know if I just got lucky 3 times in a row or Denver has more dispensaries than grocery stores, but for some reason every hotel I stayed at had a right outside the door, like it was part of their compound or some shit. Anyway, once I arrived in my first hotel, I had no real plans of going to Dabbington City. In fact, I assumed because Colorado is like the capital of Za, I could achieve the fate I was chasing by just buying some premium bud. But alas, turns out the not CBD grass I had been puffing prior was on the same level as the stuff in the dispensaries, and due to the insane tolerance I had built up, it wasn't really getting me where I was trying to go. It wasn't until I went to my next hotel when I finally ran out and was in the market for some exotic again. But this time I knew flour wasn't going to be enough. If I was going to end my multi-month US trip with a bang, I needed something that would face my insane tolerance and overcome it. Push me back into Yodi land one last time. So I went to this and explained my situation to the clerk. Hello sir, what can I get for you today? Yeah, so I'm looking for something strong. Well, in that case, I guess I recommend edibles, maybe some moonrock or dabs. What do you like? I've never done dabs before, but I have heard that they're very potent, so I guess I'll go with them. Fabulous choice, sir. I have 3 types here. The cheap stuff, the good stuff, and the insane stuff. It was at this moment that I sealed my fate. My overconfidence consumed me, and I answered, give me that insane shit. bruh. 92% THC is the wax I received, and to all you za experts who are already typing, THC% doesn't mean anything. Has this guy ever even smoked before? LOL. I live in my basement alone, and all I smoke is that exotic. Nah, for real, bro. Last video, some dude said what matters most is the plant's DNA and its heritage. Like your average smoker is gonna walk into the on some, excuse me, could you tell me about the DNA compensation of this za? Yeah, I don't know, bro. It says OG. Of course I see that, but tell me about the history of this particular plant. Were its ancestors also original gangster? Look, man, I get $14 an hour here. I don't freaking know. I've smoked it before. It's pretty good. Anyway, now that I got my premium dabs, I needed a way to smoke it. But because I knew doing dabs is not as easy as just, say, ripping a BONG, I decided to do a bit of research before buying any equipment. So I went to the closest Starbucks, sat down, and...
This is what you're gonna need. A cap, a nail, terp spinner, which is optional, a rig, Q-tips, a torch, a timer, dab tool, and a set of lungs.
Well, that's ridiculous. I knew it wasn't simple, but what the fuck is the main thought that went through my brain. I had no idea you needed a whole damn chemistry kit to take a dab, but I had already committed. I mean, that premium wax wasn't cheap, and I was determined to finish what I had started. So I went to the closest smoke shop like, hello there, can I help you with anything? Yeah, so, I need a cap, a nail, a spinner, a rig, Q-tips, alcohol, a torch, a timer, and finally, a dab tool. Do you have all of that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can find all that stuff around here somewhere, but you could just buy this electronic pen. Probably be a bit easier. Oh, well, sure, but does it include, a cap, a nail, a terp? No, but, like, you can do a dab with it. Oh, fantastic. I'll take. As it turns out, all you really need to take a dab is a e-pen, but I'm sure I'll be lectured in the comments about how that's not the same and how I've never even been high before. Anyway, I was now almost ready to enter into Dabbington City. But it was not gonna be easy, as I was staying at a no-smoke hotel. So I grabbed all my stuff, walked like 10 feet from the hotel, loaded my dab, and... Oh, it's not on. So I put it on the high setting, waited a couple seconds, and prepared to smack it again. I was done. Finished, bamboozled. No words can describe how absolutely grade A I was. I knew from the moment I exhaled that I needed to get to my room as fast as possible because this high instantly reminded me of when I first blinkered a Benjamin, only even more intense. I felt like my eyes had caved into my brain, making me more third person than first. Also, I could detect every organ in my body individually, and the sound of my heartbeats were constantly playing like some background music. I don't even know if I finished the whole dab, but I just knew I had to skedaddle before I... Wait, is it a bit cold? No. No. You see, I have this weird, awful debuff I only get sometimes when I'm like really hot. And this is the misperception of being extremely cold. It's like this weird trigger I have when I get too faded, and because I've experienced it so many times, it's like this unholy, intrusive thought that I just can't avoid. You can imagine my situation was not ideal. I was tweaking harder than I probably ever have before, and I just started slowly walking back to my hotel, trying to think of anything besides my bodily functions. I made it back inside, still shivering from my mental debuff, and walked to the elevator as fast as I could, where I had an awkward encounter with a fellow guest. I'm a swerve in the corner, Is it really that cold outside? No, it's pretty warm actually. Oh. Okay. That dude must have thought he just talked to a local crackhead. But anyway, the instant I got back to my room, I snuggled into my bed to warm up and hopefully stop tweaking, which eventually I did, but I was still scared to leave the comfort on my warm sheets, so I just kind of watched fun YouTube videos until I came down a bit. After about 30 minutes, I stopped geeking and instantly ordered some food, but not just any food. I ordered a large Baconator combo from Wendy's like a true American. And I know I say this every high story, but this time I can't emphasize it enough. That shit was bussin'. Combine my already empty stomach with the wax high, then throw in bacon, cheese, and lettuce. Yeah, I added lettuce to my burger. Why? Cause fitness isn't a choice, it's a lifestyle. So, sorry to disappoint you guys, but really that's about all that happened. The high was very similar to my first Benjamin. Tweak it first, vibe later. Will I be doing dabs again? Probably not, because they're pretty expensive and build up your tolerance super fast. Did I enjoy my time in Dabbington City? Well, besides the first 30 minutes where my brain got Doctor Stranged into Antarctica, it was fun, although it did make me very stupid. As I remember trying to connect my PS5 to my TV, and for like 15 minutes, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't showing up on my screen until I realized, oh, I'm missing the HDMI cable. The plug, a holy being that will always be there for you, especially when you don't need him, and also occasionally when you do. And because I don't live in the fancy America, where all the big vloggers and TikTokers are, I still rely on the plug for my Zaza. But after years of buying from different plugs, I always wondered how much money do these guys actually make and what are the requirements to be successful in the profession? Well, finally, after the introduction of a new, scientifically enhanced type of grass, HHC, I kinda got the answer to these questions, and I'ma be honest with you, it ain't what I expected. As I said before, it all started with the introduction of the so-called new and improved ZA, HHC. And because it was new and regulations had not been set, even in my Stone Age country where an 18-year-old can buy a liter of vodka and drink himself to death, or just get hammered and get the sudden urge to call out the 6'5" undefeated heavyweight MMA fighter at the club because, well, when he sees red, bodies start dropping. Anyway, since this was legal and I am a law-abiding citizen who wouldn't even dare to jaywalk, I thought to myself, this is the perfect moment to see what being the plug is all about. Furthermore, because most dudes in this country don't know anything about strains, hash, bud, and just take whatever the plug has, I didn't need to worry about people thinking I scammed them. Also, your boy conducted a thorough inspection of this new product using only the most delicate and scientific tools possible. Oh, okay, I hit that shit through a Red Bull canning. It kicked pretty nicely, so I dubbed it Verified Lab. After securing half an ounce of the Verified Lab, which is 14 grams in European tongue, I went to work on finding customers. And obviously the best place to start is on Snapchat. So I took a picture of the Zaza with the caption, $15 per gram, hit me up. Which is a steal, because, well, it sold for 20 a G here. And unfortunately, I only got one sale, cause I guess most of the people who I knew smoke Verified Lab were plugs themselves and knew of the existence of HHC and that it's like $6 a gram. But I was still determined to flip them packs and make them racks, so I hit up the most trustworthy plug I knew who actually had people in his contacts who smoked Verified Lab, but were not in the business of trapping themselves. After a thorough business meeting where we may or may not have smoked the grass ourselves, he conducted that the gas I had was indeed worthy of the title Verified Lab, and offered to buy it all for $12 a gram, which, I mean, I got it for 8.5, so I obviously said yes. At first I thought that was all. I made a nice profit of about $40 and was feeling good. But after about 2 days, I got a message from the plug I conducted business with reading, "Bro, that shit sold out quick. Can you order more? I think I can actually sell this stuff for 25 a G, cause people want the same stuff real bad." Now, I think you are currently pondering two questions. Why didn't he just order more himself? And how the hell did these dudes not know it was HHC? Well, the reason he didn't order more himself is quite simple. He is a full-time OG plug, so dudes does not have a bank account to order stuff. And to answer the second question, I truly don't know. I couldn't really believe it myself, but I guess most stoners really don't give a fuck about news and staying up to date with it. In the words of the great plug himself, these dudes just wanna get as up as possible. They don't know nothing about no THC, HHC, CBD, BBC, NBA, MMA, nothing. Anyway, it all sounds great, right? Everybody loves the Verified Lab and are willing to pay premium for it. Plus, it's all technically legal and I don't even need to sell it myself. Well, it would have been, but there were two problems that made it a bit more sketch. You see, the issue with HHC is that it's a chemically produced product. All it actually is THC with a couple extra hydrogen molecules. And through thorough research, both practical and scientifical, I found out that HHC is very unstable in nature, meaning one patch of the same strain can truly be verified lab. But then the next patch made with the exact same za and same way could be some whack leftover Reggie. It's because it's very hard to control how well this hydrogen molecule binds to the THC, and not financially worth it to control the potency of each patch. So you could order that shit once and get some damn moonrock, or like the first experience I had with HHC, get some damn oregano. And the second problem was the plug I was conducting business with didn't want that risk all to himself, so I would have to cover the upfront costs of the HHC and then give it to him, where he would hopefully flip it for 25 bucks a G, which I would receive 15 bucks a G and him 10. So here I was with quite the pickle of a conundrum. Should I order a whole ounce of HHC, which by buying an ounce you get the best price per gram, but I risk it being whack Reggie? Or should I just order a fourth, therefore lowering the risk of getting whack product, but also lowering the profit margins? And the conclusion I arrived at was the best of both worlds. I ordered half an ounce just like before. After receiving the good, I gave half of it to the trustworthy OG plug and waited for that passive income to roll in. But unfortunately, it was as I feared. The stuff I got this time was still good and solid, but it just wasn't the verified loud I received before. So the OG plug was having trouble marketing it as premium za and lowered the price to the industry standard 20 bucks a G. But unfortunately, dudes were catching on as well, and some of them refused to buy the za cause they could just order it online. Like, yeah, you can, but wouldn't you rather buy from your friendly neighborhood plug? I guess not, cause after a couple days, the OG plug sent me another message. Yo, this stuff ain't moving like before, and people catching on about the origins. I have half of the stuff left. If you want, I'll buy it out for 10 bucks a G, or just return it to you. Which I hesitantly chose the first option, so I had him just buy it out. Yet there was still the issue of the 7 Gs or so I had left, which I initially planned on flipping, but was unfortunately unable to, cause mofos knew I got that shit for pennies compared to the asking price. So I did as old plugs would do and dubbed the leftover HHC as my personal stash, and just started blazing my own product, which was kinda stupid in hindsight because a couple weeks after, HHC was illegalized, as we all knew it would be, and became a rarity in the za industry. Which mofo started flipping that shit for 30 bucks a G, like goddamn, it ain't even that different from normal za. Anyway, by the end of it all, I made a bit under $100 in profit, or in another metric, about 10 Gs of za, which I smoked myself. So really the conclusion to my plugging experience was I got free grass, which was a bit underwhelming cause I was hoping to become the local Pablo Escobar, if you know what I mean. Moral of the story is don't get high off your own supply, or at least if you want to be a businessman. Oh, and also don't sell illegal things, cause well, this HHC was legal, so I could have technically flipped it on Facebook Marketplace or something. Buying from the plug is always an experience, cause unless you're super tight with him, you never know if you're gonna get the leftover oregano Reggie pack he scraped from the bottom of his grinder, or if you lucky and the RNG god smile upon you, you might just get the finest organic grass-fed grass there is on planet Earth. But alas, most plugs keep that quality stuff for only the loyalist of customers or new buyers. For me, it was the latter. It begins with me and the main homie Salamander. We had just gotten home from school on a Friday and had scraped our money together for a night of hitting the spliffington and playing video games. Now, usually it was Salamander who secured the bag, cause I didn't really have too many connects. Unfortunately, this time he was unable to find the holy saw from his usual catalog of plugs. But we didn't let that discourage us, cause we knew if there is a will, there is a way. So both me and Salamander started hitting up everybody we knew who dabbled with the powers of the green plant, and it wasn't looking too good. Altogether, we wrote about 10 people, half of which just ignored us, and the other half just said they were out. So, as we sat there on the couch, hope dwindling, sadness emerging, and worst of all, no Zaza approaching, we were about to call it a day, when one of the dudes who had initially ignored us sent out a beacon of light. Yeah, I know a guy. He just started plugging, so I can't vouch for the quality, but he definitely got some. Now, if you've ever been in a situation like this, you know it is one of the best feelings in the world when you've almost given up, but in the last second, you get that holy text of, Yeah, how much? But even though we were pretty stoked, we were also a little bit wary because this $20 we had saved up was the equivalent of 20 million in today's money. And because this guy was new and no info was given on the quality, we were scared of getting a bag of oregano. And I mean, at the time, we both thought all plugs are grueling gangsters ready to kill you on sight if you so much as make the wrong sound. So if it really was a bag of oregano, there was nothing we could do about it. Anyway, the time comes for us to meet up with this mysterious plug, and the instructions he gave us were to come to this rundown gas station's loading area in the back at 8 p.m. sharp. So we did. As we were standing there at 7:58 p.m., we could only imagine what vicious, heinous, devious killer would come to greet us. So yeah, we hyped him up a little too much, but all that mattered now was the grass and if it was good or not. We went through the usual plug dialogue options like, yo, what's up? Yeah bro, can't wait to get suited today. This that good, etc. Until he finally revealed the grass, and what I witnessed to this day I find absurd. The grass was golden. NANI? Not in like shiny gold, but it was this yellowish color with green accents. Beautiful. And the smell. Bro opened that bag up for us to sniff, but it was not necessary, as the smallest opening in that Ziploc baggie consumed the entire area with the finest fragrance imaginable. Oh, okay, well, finest is the wrong word probably. The shit smelled like cat piss, but that's a good thing with Zaza. So we gave up our $20 with no hesitation and returned to Salamander's place with this golden grass of the gods. Now, usually we would just roll up a spliff and consume the za like that, but as this seemed to be legendary material and we didn't want to waste even a single microgram, we made a makeshift can that would allow us to ration this gram to the maximum. So now it was time to hit the za, and it went something like this. Are you ready? Shit, you know it. Here goes nothing. You good, bro? Yeah, you gotta hit this shit, man. Hey, you good? You good, bro? You hear me? You good? Yeah, man, this is some good stuff. This shit was heavenly. It was not of this world, I swear. Now, I'm not sure if it was because our tolerance was pretty much zero at the time, or it was really grass descending from heaven. Probably a mix of both. But one thing I do know, that was the highest I had ever been up until that point. And well, as we know, when you were really high, you don't remember much the night after. So unfortunately, I don't know exactly what we talked about or what we did, but I do remember that we caught a major case of the Joker's laughing gas cause we found everything hilarious. We were so goddamn high, it took us a solid 20 minutes to navigate the PS4 menu to launch our game of Call of Duty. And when we did launch it, we were cognitively impaired. Felt like the controller was inverted or some shit. But safe to say, that Friday night we were truly blessed by the plug. And we went on to exclusively buy from that guy until he stopped plugging 1 month later. But he will always hold a special place in my heart as the plug of plugs. I don't know about you guys, but I swear, these days whenever I go outside to catch some fresh air and enjoy the glory of the sun, I'm instantly greeted with mofos triple tapping the Elfington like it was a raid boss. Young, old, fat, ripped, it don't matter. Everybody consuming the Nick some way or the other. Shit, not even our goddamn elementary schools are safe. 12-year-old kids be waking up one day and just being like, you know what? Today seems like the perfect day to get an awful addiction that I will regret for the rest of my life and struggle to control daily. Yeah, better hit up Jimmy too, maybe he wants to join in. But not all nicotine addicts are the same. In fact, there are a lot of different perspectives on the whole addiction aspect. But one of the worst types to be is the dude who never admits he is addicted. We all know a dude like this. Mofo be sucking on the Benjamin 24/7 or stuffing pouches under his gums every 5 minutes. But when asked if he is addicted, he always hits you with the, "Nah bro, just the fuck, I can quit whenever, I just don't wanna right now." Like, what you mean you don't wanna? Bro been consuming so much Nick, his brain has literally turned into a damn elf bar. And when you tell him to prove it by, I don't know, not vaping for a week, they always hit you with that. Man, I ain't gotta prove nothing to you. You don't know me, what I've been through. I'm a dog, I'm a killer. No, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Even though this dude kinda stubborn, I feel for him. Cause who really wants to admit they can't stop? But this next dude, I don't feel bad for at all. The guy who seems to think it's cool to be addicted. Okay, no one thinks it's nice to be addicted, but I mean, that's what this guy pretty much is. They think vaping makes them cool, and therefore shames others for not wanting to. In reality, pretty much every other nicotine consumer will tell you to never start doing it, and that it's much cooler to just breathe air. So, therefore, this guy is, or at least should be, hated by everyone on planet Earth. And if you ever catch a mofo pushing vape into a homie, just run up on him and slap the shit out of him. Kick him in the balls while you're at it. Or, I don't know, at least spit in his face or something. Fucking asshole. But enough of this hobgoblin, let's move on to the dude who smokes cigs. Okay, this might offend some people, but cigs are goddamn disgusting, and I'm pretty sure they're even worse for you than vaping and nicotine pouches, although don't quote me on that. This guy lives and dies by, "It's all natural, bro," and proclaims, "At least I know what's in it." Like, sorry for hanging on to hope that just maybe, I might not get cancer, cause this dude already marked his calendar for the good old iron lung. Not much to say except for man kinda smells, so 1 out of 10, never touch nicotine, let alone cigs. But now it's time for the occasional addict. Okay, this one is near to my heart, cause sad to admit it, this is kinda me. This dude doesn't have his own vape or pouches or cigs or anything, but that doesn't mean he isn't addicted because he still consumes Nick whenever he's offered or the opportunity arises. Speaking from experience, this guy kind of in limbo cause even though there could be weeks, even months when he doesn't touch the Elfington, but then one day he might go somewhere with the homies and do something like this. You wanna hit this? No. Okay. On second thought... So yeah, even though it's a seasonal addiction, it's still an addiction. So call yourself out every time a nicotine addiction moment happens. But time for the last one. I only consume Nick when I'm stressed. So, you only hit the Puffington when you're stressed, eh? So, what qualifies as being stressed? You lose your job, you get robbed, you lose your car keys, you stub your toe, you experience a mild inconvenience of forgetting the lights on in your room, so now you have to go all the way upstairs to turn them off. So, yeah, as you can see, this one is kind of a slippery slope, cause believe me, the more you mess around with the Nick, the more you're gonna be in moments like this. What? That's so... Man... Unfortunately, it's all a ruse, cause in reality, you only consume Nick when you feel like it, so you're addicted, just like everybody else. And a word of advice, don't start vaping, okay? It's not good for you. We all know there is an invisible hierarchy in high school that depending on where you stand will determine how many girls and party invitations you get. But understanding your place in the pyramid is the first step to dominating, because if you're at the bottom, no amount of riz will get you that one super hot Latina model chick you stalk on Instagram every day. Anyway, let's get right into Level 1. Total Geek. Now, the Total Geek level doesn't necessarily mean that you walk around with a waifu plushie wearing a Naruto Shippuden t-shirt all the time. What it does mean though is that your social game is 0, and the only interactions you have in school are either with a teacher or with other total geeks. This would be the guy who sits alone at the back and has a voice crack every time they need to speak in front of the class. The people who are on this level usually project a false reality in their heads, so they don't see themselves as geeks. In fact, the opposite. They see themselves as the secret Sigmas who don't socialize with anyone because they just don't want to, and if they wanted to, they'd be the most popular person in school. This can be very dangerous, and one must call himself out on this if he wishes to advance in the rankings, because if not, well...
They all think they're so cool. They don't even know if I wanted to, I could be the leader of this class and get every girl I wanted.
Hey, can you give me a pen? I don't know where mine is.
Yeah. Here you go. She totally got rizzed by the Rizzler.
Level 2. Not a total geek. Welcome to the first level where you might just have some friends inside the school. Even though you're probably still not gonna be invited to parties, you might have a couple popular kids who think you're aight. And well, at least no one looks at you as one tick away from shooting up the school. That was a joke, YouTube. But where your social game really takes a step up is at Level 3. Goofy Goober. This is where your quality of life improves dramatically because you don't have to worry about whether or not you're gonna have anyone to talk to or sit with in the cafeteria and class. You'll start to notice that you have merged into a friend group, whether intentionally or not. And because of that, you are also invited to parties. But even though you are invited, that doesn't mean you're popular, because most likely you are more of a filler character than a main. Meaning your purpose in said function is to be an NPC to make the party appear more lively, because as we know, the more people at the function, the more memorable it is. But all you gotta do to get to the next level is to do something cool, like, I don't know, maybe a backflip. Hey everybody, watch me do this. But there is someone you fear, someone who challenges your undisputable game in the shadows, someone who didn't have to earn the power. He was born with it. He is Level Infinity, Sigma Chad. This is what most total geeks think they are, dream of being. He really doesn't care at all about his Riz. In fact, he doesn't even know what it means. All he knows is for some reason every time he talks to any girl, they get all giggly and anxious. This person has the natural social skills and looks to be a LA influencer, but he just doesn't care, and that's the reason why the Chad doesn't like him. But unlike everybody else, the Chad holds no power over this guy. In fact, he fears him, because if he were to talk bad about the Sigma, it would greatly lower his popularity. And what angers the level 5s the most is the fact that the Sigma acts oblivious to the hierarchy, so he might hang out with a group of geeks one day and then go to a cheerleader-only party the next, whereas the Chad must adhere to the social structure in order to maintain his position as the king of high school, which means in reality, he is still just another pawn in the endless struggle to become popular. But that's just a theory, a game theory. I think you guys know high school, and in particular high school bathrooms, were the go-to spot to go vape. And I mean, there was just something about those dirty sinks and broken urinals that screamed, "Come vape here." But anyway, if you watch some of my videos, you probably know I'm not much of a puffer, but there was a time when a young high school CBD bro actually owned his own shitty little dollar store vape. But how I got it is pretty damn ridiculous. It was a normal school morning, and as usual, me and some friends were just hanging out at the corridor, chatting, playing mobile games, you know, the usual, when one of the dudes from the parallel class runs up on us and drops a massive bomb on everybody. Hey, do you guys know what's happening today? Do you know? Jason Voorhees is running around killing all the students. What? No, there's a police inspection. They're going through all our jackets, bags, lockers, and everything, man. Oh, nah, that's really bad. To me, this was whatever, cause I mean, I had nothing to hide. To be honest, I didn't even have a bag or locker for most of my time in high school, cause there was no need, being that I didn't even have any of the textbooks. But alas, most of my friends were panicking hard, cause a lot of them had a vape liquid, shit, some mofos were even carrying a bag of that exotic. And because of the police raid, everybody who had these banned items were presented with 3 real options, each with their own set of positives and minuses. Number 1 was the most simple but least rewarding. It was just to straight up throw away your vape or try to hide it somewhere outside the school grounds. Although the latter was near impossible, cause the school was kinda monitoring students trying to leave. The upside though with this was that it was real simple, stress-free and easy. downside being, to some of these dudes, their vape was their baby, and if it was an expensive one, it was kind of out of the question, cause $50 back then was months of saving. The second option was to YOLO it and try to hide the vape in school or on school grounds. Now, most dudes didn't even consider this an option, and I don't know why. Mofos run about, yeah, but if they find it, it's got my DNA on it. Like, bro, who do you think you are? If you really were out here flipping packs like Pablo Escobar and on the police most wanted list, you probably wouldn't be in high school. I bet they were watching too much CSI Investigation, or I don't know, we're bugging off that paranoid pack, cause that just seems stupid to me, even back then. But alas, this paranoia is what kinda led me to purchase a vape, because the third option was sell your vape for a massive discount. And a lot of mofos did this, and me being the businessman I am, I took this opportunity to purchase a fine machine that I looked up and found to cost around $35. Now, how big was this discount, you might be wondering? 20, 30, 50%? No. I purchased myself a fine vaporizing machine for the price of $2 and half of my double Snickers bar, although it wasn't quite the deal it might seem. So here I am, it's about 10 AM, next class is gonna start in like 10 minutes, and I'm brainstorming, trying to think of the perfect place to hide this thing. I considered putting in one of those tissue dispensaries in the bathroom, cause they were really easy to open and it seemed like the move. But then I thought, what if someone got a major case of diarrhea or something and end up emptying it out only for my vape to pop out? And worst case scenario, he tells the teacher and they devise a plan to catch me lacking at the end of the day when I try to go retrieve my vape. So yeah, I was kind of on that paranoia pack too, but what I ended up doing is actually a lot more complicated and devious. You see, inside the school grounds, there were a couple good areas, one being the running track that was covered by these rubber mats that you could lift up and just about squeeze a smaller vape in. The only problem was, everybody thought of this, and by the time I went outside to stash my vape, I saw like 4 or 5 dudes all walking back from the track looking all sus. I just assumed everybody had hidden their piece there, so I had to think of something else, cause I ain't trying to copy others. And what I came up with was genius. I hid my vape near this big ass vent that regulated the school's climate, I think. There were these stone slabs there, you see, and after wrapping my vape up with rubber bands and toilet paper, I lifted up the slab and stashed it there. Genius. Well, it would have been if not for one crucial mistake, the single flaw in my master plan. Being so proud of my devious plot, I decided to tell like 5 or 6 friends of this, only to be betrayed and have my vape stolen by Ricky. But it took me a good month to figure that out, as he had taken the vape for personal use, I guess. I really don't know. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention to you guys is the vape, well, it was kinda broken. At the time I couldn't tell cause I didn't know jack about him, but every time I tried to inhale it, it gave off this burning taste and would make the smallest of clouds, so I couldn't even do them cool little tricks. Eventually, I ended up getting that vape back, but at that point, I was kinda done with it, so I just kinda brought it to school one day and threw it off the 5th story and watched how the $2 half Snickers bar investment was shattered into millions of pieces, and my dreams of making a 5 to 10x return on investment were dead. Oh, and it turns out the police weren't even there to manhandle the students and take their vapes. They were there to check on some equipment that had accidentally gone off during a fire alarm or something. So yeah, never trust a dude who looks like he's being chased by a serial killer cause his vape might be taken away. That's like the moral of the story, I think. Wake and bake. One who does not understand the true implications of this act may find himself overwhelmed by its powers. Yet this holy practice has a special place in every stoner's heart, for it can only be truly enjoyed if one forfeits his entire life energy and hopes to receive the blessing of the Za gods. For if one does not concede to the Za, die will be consumed by it. I have witnessed one too many proud, ignorant soldiers underestimate the wake and bake and end up overwhelmed by its mighty force. But if you're confused by my holy transcript, I'll put it in terms you might understand better. It's not a wake and bake if you don't fucking wake up. Dudes be out here talking about, ooh, I love waking and baking. It makes my whole day so much less stressful. Yeah, of course it does, you dinglebob, if all you do after is watch TikTok, order Uber Eats, fill your belly to the brim, and take a 3-hour nap. But some mofos still disrespect the holy practice by literally doing nothing with the extravagant mega high of the wake and bake. And yes, no matter what science says, I'm here to tell you getting high as soon as you wake up is a lot stronger and different than getting high, let's say, in the evening. And my theory is that right after waking up, your body and brain are not functioning at full capacity yet, and are weak against foreign substance attacks like THC. So when you inhale that beautiful Mary Jane right after waking up, your body's defense systems are down, leading to more of the THC slipping through to your brain, therefore getting suited as fuck. And since design ain't nothing but an amplifier of your senses, feelings, and thoughts, since waking up is hard to begin with, cause I don't know about you, but I personally gotta recite every damn inspirational Rocky Balboa quote to muster up the strength to get up in the morning. If you're high, that shit is like 10 times harder. And that's proven by most of these mofos who claim they like waking and baking. Dudes get high and just stare at the wall and watch the day go by. Like, there really are levels to this shit. And since your boy waked and baked every single day for a whole summer, I have gone through all of them and am qualified to tell you it starts at level 1. The couch potato. This is the state you're probably gonna be in for the first couple times you get high right in the morning. And it ain't nothing to be ashamed of, because those first times are like a learning experience. Once the baking is planned, when you go to sleep, it'll have you all excited like, oh boy, can't wait to get high as soon as I wake up and go on an adventure. But when the time comes and you smoke that exotic, you soon realize that this shit hits different. Not only are you baked out of your mind, you also feel like your eyelids have 10-pound weights on them. But even so, you will try your best to go on that high adventure you have been hyping up. But unfortunately, the most you can do is gather the strength to go to the kitchen and make a sandwich. Which after, you'll probably take that right back to your room, put on some Netflix or some, watch it for a couple minutes and realize, I'm not leaving this bed anytime soon, am I? And boom, you either fall asleep or lie in your bed watching Netflix like the potato you are for the whole high. But if you're like me and don't accept that as a successful and fun wake and bake, you'll do it again some other day, and this time you're better educated on the powers of the morning za, which will lead you to level 2. I will persevere. This time, you know what to expect, and have mentally prepared for the tiredness and overall lack of motivation to do stuff by the wake and bake. So just like before, you decide to try the holy practice, but this time decide to brush your teeth and maybe take a shower before the bake. Just cause you know one of the hardest parts about getting up in the morning is the fact you can't just stand up and start your day. You gotta do your morning routine first. Anyway, now that you've completed the wake and bake and were smart enough to do a bit of your morning routine first, the 10-pound weights that were attached to your eyelids previously have now lightened up to about 4-pound weights. And although every fiber of your being is still telling you to go lie down, you fight through and attempt to start your day with something lightly productive, like going to the store or cleaning your room. And if you do end up going to the store like I did, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's a trap. Because you will most likely find yourself admiring every food item your eyeballs gaze upon, and we all know when the munchies hit, well, you either rise to the occasion or you have a bad trip. Hey, I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So you go back home, do your best impression of Nicotado Avocado, and find yourself watching YouTube or Netflix on your wretched bed again. Good try, but not quite the wake and bake epic adventure you were hoping for. But this time, you swear on your mama. Well, better not do that, but anyway, you swear that next time you will have an awesome wake and bake, which will lead you to level 3.
It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
You've had enough of this BS. You're done folding to the power of the za and being that 1990s generic movie stoner who smokes grass, plays video games, and eats Doritos all day. So now, you do what you did previously, but instead of going to your local Wonderland 7-Eleven, you instead go to the gym or just do something productive that doesn't involve binge watching the new One Piece Netflix series. But this level is in reality quite subjective. It all depends on what your idea of a successful wake and bake is. For me, I'm happy with my wake and bake if after the high dissipates and reality starts to shape back in, I don't feel all hazy and sad from the fact that I did a wake and bake. This also means sometimes it's okay to hit that Mary Jane immediately after waking and just playing video games the entire time. If you plan a day like that ahead and enter the morning with no desire to do anything but lay on your couch and eat 50% off birthday cakes you got from the discount aisle at Walmart, then that's fine. One of my funnest and favorite high memories came from a wake and bake with Riz X, where immediately after waking, we spontaneously decided to get faded. And after that, we were a bit bored, so we decided to look at how much money we had in our bank balance. And well, things weren't looking too good, but we were able to scrape together $200 and went on Facebook Marketplace to search for fun items for the high mind. And oh boy, we sure did strike gold, because we found this guy selling an Xbox Series S with 2 controllers close to our area. So we pulled up, acquired the box, found a free trial for Xbox Game Pass, and played a bunch of split-screen games and ate McNuggets all goddamn day. Which in my book has got to be a successful wake and bake, but it would have been an awful one if we hadn't planned ahead and occupied the day's schedule with only 2 things in mind: smoke grass and have fun. But one thing I will say about the holy practice known as the wake and bake is that it's best enjoyed as a special occasion, and that's because them shits absolutely demolish your tolerance, and I speak from experience. We went from a bag lasting 1 week to 1 day and 3 days of waking and baking. Like, I don't know exactly why, but that shit sure isn't sustainable financially nor productivity wise. It also has to do with the fact when you wake and bake, you usually smoke throughout the whole day, but when you smoke up after a long and productive day of grinding, you only do so once or twice before you get tired and go to bed, giving your body ample time to recover from the THC. Think about it like this: if you wake and bake and then smoke throughout the day, that ganja is constantly building up, so your body never really has time to digest that THC through your system. But if you smoke only every 24 hours or so, you're giving your body time to recover and remove the za from your brain, making it so you don't have to smoke a whole spliff just to feel a little bit high. But shit, I'm not a scientist, so all this stuff might be BS, but I don't know, it kinda makes sense, doesn't it? Drugs. Something America has been fighting against for over a century, yet this endeavor hasn't been very fruitful. Basically, imagine the ocean as all the drugs in the US, and they have thousands of people with buckets slowly emptying it out. But the problem is, on the other side of the ocean, there's dudes like Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria who have direct pipelines feeding in endless amounts of pure Colombian cocaine. But you know, Pablo was the GOAT narco. Surely after defeating the Medellin cartel, things would get... oh, well, fuck. Basically, because the US is by far the biggest market in the world, there will always be tons of entrepreneurs, mostly South American, who want to invest. And because starting a tech company with only 100 pesos and a 2-cylinder motorbike is pretty hard, why not settle for the next best thing? Drugs. From the opium crisis of the late 19th century to the current fentanyl one, we are going to look at every drug epidemic in US history and hopefully by the end of it, learn why the fuck does this keep happening. So let's start it off with the first one. The opium epidemic of the late 19th century. Welcome to the late 1800s, where opium is basically America's favorite snack. Got a headache? Opium. Can't sleep? Opium. You're feeling a little bit down? Yup, opium. Doctors were out here handing them out like strip club invites on the Las Vegas Strip, especially in the form of laudanum, a fancy mix of opium and alcohol. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team fucking here. Hey, yo, doc, you think I could get a quick refill on that prescription laudanum? You know, that good shit. Sorry, John, we're all out. But here, take this Jack Daniels and powdered opium. Just smack a hit from the pipe and wash it down with the Jack, if you know what I mean. That should get you back on track. Rehab. Oh geez, thanks doc. Now excuse me as I go get fucked up on my medicine and partake in my favorite 19th century pastime, beating my wife. Godspeed, John. But then the Chinese immigrants arrived, working hard and bringing along the practice of smoking opium in dens. These dens were kind of like the Starbucks of the day, except instead of coffee, they served up a bowl of relaxing opium. Naturally, this made some folks nervous, cause nothing says panic like a little cultural exchange mixed with drugs. Then came the moral outrage, which wasn't just about the opium, but also had a hefty dose of racism. Suddenly people decided opium was bad news, especially when it involved Chinese immigrants. So San Francisco passed a law in 1875 targeting these opium dens, effectively saying no more public opium fun for anybody. By 1914, the US government got serious with the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, making it way harder to get opium without a lot of paperwork. And just like that, the first US drug epidemic started to fade, leaving behind a legacy of questionable drug policies and a whole lot of finger pointing. So what did we learn, or rather should have learned? Well, maybe that it's a bad idea to get the entire country hooked on a substance before
before figuring out how addictive it is, and that blaming everything on immigrants never really solves the problem, but alas, this lesson was forgotten pretty fast. Now let's jump to the second multi-drug epidemic, which was the heroin, speed, and barbiturates crisis of the mid-20th century. Did you know heroin wasn't always the notorious bad guy we know today? In fact, it started as a miracle drug that was supposed to cure people of their morphine addictions, which I think you're probably starting to see a bit of a pattern here with the US being overly confident in their medical knowledge and getting people hooked on hardcore drugs.
Tom, what are you doing with that morphine?
Oh, well, I've had this headache since the morning.
Well, good luck with that. Morphine is like super addictive, bro.
What's that?
Oh, this is just heroin. It's like way better than morphine, like way better.
Heroin is in fact better than morphine, specifically 2 to 3 times strong. Better. Anyway, doctors back then really did think they'd hit the jackpot. Got a cough? Here's heroin the hero. Feeling a little down? Heroin's got your back. But instead of curing addictions, it just traded one addiction for another, stronger one. And people got hooked faster than you can say Chain's FR clone. Fast forward to the 1960s and 70s, and heroin was like that super obnoxious drunk guy who refused to leave the function. It spread like wildfire, especially in cities. You had everyone from jazz musicians to war veterans getting tangled up in heroin's sticky web. It was cheap, it was potent, and it was everywhere. And then came the crime. As you might guess, a bunch of people addicted to opioids isn't exactly a recipe for peace and harmony. Crime rates soared and cities became battlegrounds, with heroin at the center of it all. The government's solution? A big shiny war on drugs, which mostly involved cracking down on users and dealers with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Instead of helping addicts, they threw them in jail, which was about as effective as smoking indica to boost productivity. Around the same time, there were actually 2 other drugs that were causing havoc as well: barbiturates and amphetamine, aka speed. On one hand, you had amphetamines, or you might know it by its street name, speed. No, not that speed. That speed, yeah. But why was it called speed? Well, cause one dose of these Chaos Emeralds could get you tweaking around like Sonic. These little fuckers were like rocket fuel. Feeling tired? Pop an amphetamine. Need to lose weight? Amphetamines to the rescue. Trying to stay awake for 3 days straight to grind the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and become an omni-movement god before anyone else? Yup, you guessed it, amphetamines. But after all that speeding around, people needed to come down, and that's where barbiturates came in. These were the downers that help you sleep, relax, or just stop vibrating like a jackhammer. Doctors handed out like candy, thinking they were the perfect solution for everything from anxiety to insomnia. The result? A whole lot of people bouncing between being wide awake and dead asleep, often with a little too much of both. People started getting seriously hooked on this cocktail of uppers and downers, and it turns out when you mix the two, it's a recipe for disaster, like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. Overdoses skyrocketed, and suddenly, the party didn't seem so fun anymore. It was shortly after Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland died from a barbiturate overdose, the government finally decided to step in, cracking down on these pills and making them harder to get. And just like that, America had to find other ways to stay awake or chill out. But now we are arriving to the more well-known controversial epidemics, first of which is the famous crack cocaine epidemic 1980s to 1990s. Crack was like cocaine's cheaper, faster little brother. It was easy to make, easy to get, and way too easy to get hooked on. Think of it as the fast food of drugs. Cheap, quick, and leaving you with serious regrets. Crack hit poor urban neighborhoods the hardest, spreading like crazy. Suddenly, everyone and their mama could afford to get high, and before you knew it, communities were being torn apart by addiction and crime. The government's solution? War on drugs, Infinity War. Okay, that's not what they called it, but I mean, it was technically a sequel to the original War on Drugs. But unlike the Avengers, who went after the big bad guy behind the chaos, it mostly involved locking up minorities, even if they were caught with even a tiny, teeny bit of crack. It was like a cruel game of gotcha, where basically everyone lost. Crack is also one of those drugs that if you do it once, it changes the biochemistry of your brain. The euphoria you feel from smoking that shit goes way beyond what the brain can produce itself. So once you get that feeling, your brain will start equating true happiness with smoking crack. That's why even people who are able to quit will most likely never be the same again. If you ask Dave Chappelle, the whole thing was a tragic, darkly ironic mess. He pointed out that when crack hit black communities, the government's response was all about punishment, not help. Fast forward a couple of decades, and when opioids started affecting white communities, suddenly everyone's talking about treatment and compassion. As Chappelle famously joked, it's funny how the tune changes depending on who's affected. The crack epidemic wasn't just a drug crisis, it was a stark lesson on how race and class can influence influence government response. And while crack might have faded from the headlines, the impact of those years is still being felt today. But before we can get to the current opioid and fentanyl epidemic, we have to quickly skim over the drug best known from a bald cancer patient with a chemistry degree. The meth epidemic, 1990s to present. If you thought Red Bull gives you wings, meth gives you freaking rocket boosters. It's cheap, it's easy to make, and it turns you into a jittery paranoid tweaker real fast. Meth, like everything else in this video, spread like wildfire, especially in rural areas where it became the go-to solution for anyone needing to stay up for days or just looking for a fun time. Before long, meth mouth and tweakers became common sights, and communities were left dealing with the fallout. The government's response cracked down on the ingredients. Suddenly, buying cold medicine felt like trying to smuggle pure Colombian. But despite the regulations, meth didn't go away, it just got sneakier. Hello? Hello, Doc. Yeah, funny story. Basically, everyone in my community, family, and all my friends and shit, you know, they got a nasty cold, so, you know, I'm gonna need, like, hold your cold medicine, like every last bit, bruh. Sorry, you don't look very sick to me.
Trust me, doctor. I'm a sick man. Now give me your fucking cold medicine or I'm gonna burn this freaking place down.
Around the same time, there was also the prescription opioid epidemic, but the story there is basically the exact same as the opium one. Only difference being that this time it wasn't technically the government's fault, it was big pharmaceutical companies who convinced doctors that opioids had no side effects and could be prescribed out like Tic Tacs. Spoiler alert, these were some of the most addictive drugs in the universe, and comparable to Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, but you know, only like 1 or 2 stones. Now though, we're gonna talk about what happens when opioid Thanos gets all 6 Infinity Stones. The fentanyl epidemic, 2010s to present. Now we're in the 2010s, and if the prescription opioid epidemic was Infinity War, then fentanyl is endgame. Fentanyl is super potent, like 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. A tiny amount can knock you out, and by knock you out, I mean send you to the gulag where you either clutch it or it's game over, bruh. The scary part, fentanyl is showing up everywhere, often mixed with other drugs like heroin or even cocaine, usually without the user's knowledge. Suddenly, what might have been a manageable, if still bad habit, has become a deadly gamble. One wrong hit and you're dead. The government has scrambled to respond, focusing on harm reduction, distributing naloxone, an overdose reversal drug, and setting up safe spaces for users. But fentanyl keeps spreading, turning every drug purchase into a potentially fatal decision. The practice of meeting a stranger at the club and bonding over some pure Colombian is really dying out, man. All jokes aside, if the devil is real, then fentanyl is 100% his doing. Out of all the legit hardcore drugs talked about in this video, this makes them seem like some indigo weed. Whoever sells fentanyl knowingly should be judged not as a drug dealer, but as a murderer with intent to kill. I'm grasping at straws here, but the only good thing that might come out of this is awareness about the dangers of drugs. And although teenagers are stupid, I'd hope that this crisis might push away would-be first-time drug users, as the chance of literally dying from doing anything is so likely these days, you might as well be playing Russian roulette. And now you have the full overview of American drug epidemics. What did we learn? Well, we might have learned a lot, and I don't know about the government though. Hopefully, I guess. High in the sky going 600 miles per hour. What can go wrong?
Hello, valued customers. Captain speaking. We'd like to apologize for the delay. We got word that one of our passengers is smuggling Schedule 1 narcotics on the plane, and we have informed the local authorities who should be escorting the man out right about now.
Alright then, scumbag. Empty your bag right now. I can smell the narcotics on you.
Officer, why? I don't have any narcotics on me. I just ate a legal hemp gun.
Oh shit, he's got a gun! That was a close one, but don't worry, folks. The situation has been handled. We'll get a crew to body bag this son of a bitch. Oh, sure, you also dropped your bag of flour. Anyway, carry on. Highway to the danger zone.
Well, turns out quite a few things, but over the clouds there lies a rainbow so beautiful, it might just be worth it. Because as we all know, flying friggin' sucks, because unless you have an online university making you $1 million a day, you're gonna have to get used to paying Michelin star restaurant prices for tap water and the most disgusting food you'll ever taste in your life. And I promise you, bro, I'm not over exaggerating. The last flight of our US trip from JFK to London, me and RizX decided to pop a New York Lego brick blue Rats Eddie just before we got to the airport, so we were faded both at the airport and the first half of our flight. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. This was my first ever time flying high. And yes, this might be a shocker for some of you guys.
CBD bro isn't smoking that Qui-Gon Jinn Vietnamese Phillips head runs 24/7? Unsubscribed!
And although that might be true, just know, this shit ain't nothing to me, man. I smoke real Amani Cuban rapscallion ghost nuggets. I'm him. I've been him. I will continue to be him. Just got my DNA test back. Turns out I'm 100% Himalayan. So basically, I never saw a need nor really had the opportunity to be faded on an airplane. Mostly because 90% of my flights have been 2 hours or shorter, and 2 hours of sitting on the Boeing GTS bucket seat ain't that bad. Well, if you're flying Frontier, it'll probably be like 5 hours because the fucking delays they all. Anyway, as we woke up in the morning in Flushing, New York, in a $250 per day shitbox of a hotel at the end of our trip, completely exhausted and a bit depressed from having to go back home from our grand US adventure, we looked at our only 25% consumed $30 bag of Eddies and thought, man, this is all really gonna go to waste. Unless I'm gonna stop you right now. We're not risking jail time for $15 worth of Eddies. Man, nah, you're right. But what if we just ate it all before the flight? After Googling and Redditing for 20 minutes, we were pretty confident that being high on an airplane isn't a big deal as long as you don't take any Za with you. So we ordered our Uber to JFK and now we were on our way to the airport, discussing how much should we take. And although I at first thought of taking the whole bag was 500 mgs, so $250 per, which my tolerance was at the point where 50 F'd me up, so we decided on 100 to avoid. Would you like some snacks or any drinks, sir?
No, thank you.
Can I offer you any snacks or any drinks, sir?
I'll have M&M's.
We arrived at the airport and ate our Eddies just before going in. It took us about 10 minutes to get to the security line, which had us a bit paranoid because the line was pretty long, and for our calculations, the Eddies should be kicking in about 20 to 30 minutes. Thankfully, we were able to unload our bags before they hit, and Rizx was the first one through with no problems. He got his bag and was waiting for me on the other side when...
You're good to go, sir. Enjoy your flight.
Next.
Are all your pockets empty, sir?
Yes,
walk on through then, sir. Yeah.
The Eddies had shown themselves just before I went through the body scan, but thankfully I got through that just fine. The problem was, unlike Rizx, whose bags were cleared instantly, mine were not. They were sent to the manual inspection, which I knew for a fact I had nothing to hide, but because I was slowly but surely descending into madness, all I could think about while I was sitting there with the other people whose bag needed to be checked was, how long is this gonna take?
Shit, I hope I don't have anything.
No, I know I don't.
Do I?
Yes! What? I was bugging out. Not because I was smuggling anything, but because I was slowly but surely getting higher and higher, and was starting to question if I had accidentally left some weed in my bag, maybe, I don't know. Thankfully, after about 20 minutes, I got my bags, and we were able to leave security. Finally. And I thought that the hard part was over, but it was just beginning. Let me introduce you to the worst food place I have ever experienced in my 21 years of life on planet Earth. Let's call this establishment Trust Burger. Even though my expectations for airport food are extremely low, and I mean massively so, the experience there literally opened my eyes to how shit a food place can actually be. I arrived there 1 hour before boarding, and from the first glance, I knew what I was dealing with was truly a Michelin star worthy establishment. There were 4 workers there, each with a designated task, and each one of them was really pouring their heart into it. The first worker was at the counter, and she was really well trained because she was working there in a completely new way. Instead of taking orders and answering customer questions, she positioned herself near the back of the counter, close to the kitchen, obviously to provide the best service possible somehow. Oh, but the kitchen workers were even more professional. They were so good at their jobs that although there was 4 of them, only 1 of them was working. And I'm assuming the others were there for quality control. Now, normal folks like myself and you would think that having a line of people waiting for their food with angry faces would make these guys rush. But no, what we were dealing with were truly smooth operators. Even in the face of controversy, with all eyes on these 5 workers, however much the customers tried to get it out of them, they refused to muster up even one singular fuck. And obviously being that the person who was supposed to be taking orders was doing something else, mostly chit-chatting with other workers, everybody including me had to order from the self-service machine. And so I did. After ordering, I went to buy some Ruffles and M&Ms, and because I was bugging off the Cuban rapscallion ghost nuggets and had lost my sense of time, I went up to the counter to ask if my order was ready. Yeah, hello?
Okay, what the...
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I'm just checking if my order is ready. I went away for a minute, so, just checking.
I don't know. Okay, well, do you know where I can find this out? It's only been 5 minutes, man. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I walked away from there high as balls and shamed. Shamed for asking if my order was ready. Now, at this point, I was basically starving to death. But how these guys had treated me, I was really scared of them spitting or even worse, jizzing on my burger. But after 20 minutes, I did get my order. And if you thought the service was bad, the burger itself was even worse. The thing was cold and dry as fush. It was so bad I literally had to consume the thing like a competitive eater. Every bite had to be hydrated with a sip of water, so the jizz burger would even slide down my throat. After eating it, I was also really paranoid of getting food poisoning. Not because the burger tasted bad, well it did, it tasted like dog shit, but it didn't taste like anything had gone bad in there. Just because I was obliterated, my brain was prepping for the worst case scenario. But now, it was time to find jizz in your Rizex, and go to our gate. And that took about 10 minutes, and after that we started walking there together when we heard the speakers call out, Mr. Bro and Mr. Riz, this is your last call for flight 69420. I repeat, Mr. Bro and Mr. Riz, this is your last call for flight 69420. Please come to gate 69 immediately. Thank you.
Run.
Thankfully, we got to our gate and made it on the plane. And turns out there was plenty of freaking time because we still sat and waited for 30 minutes before the plane took off. Which that might have also been the reason why the guys at the gate looked at us like a bunch of baboons. Looking back at it, it must have set off some alarms seeing two 6'5" behemoths running at full speed holding their carry-ons on top their heads like they were running from a lion, but hey, at least we made it. But once the adrenaline wore off, I realized 100 mg was truly too much. I was fighting demons on that aerodynamic plane, and what made it worse was the flight attendants were all super posh and uptight. We were sat at the extra legroom middle aisle, and I swear it wasn't just a za. These motherfuckers were looking at us, judging our every move. Anyway, after sitting in silence and looking down at the floor for 30 minutes, we finally took off. And because it was an international flight, it was a massive plane. And as it was taking off, it made a lot of creaking and sketchy noises, which increased my tweak meter to almost maximum. I mean, it doesn't make sense physics-wise. How the fuck are those massive wings supported with just a connection to the body of the plane? Things were flopping like crazy, and however much I tried, I couldn't get the vision out of my mind that as soon as the pilot starts pulling up, one of those wings would detach and we would fly into the highway in front of the airport in a ball of fire causing the next 9/11.
But we survived. What a surprise. I guess it was just a week.
I did end up sleeping for 4 hours of our 10-hour flight, which was great. I'll leave it up to you though if you think it was worth it, as all the stress and anxiety did pay off very nicely as I watched Vikings and ate M&Ms for the rest of the flight with a smile on my face. We proceeded to touch down in London at 6 a.m. and slept for 4 hours at a McDonald's before catching our last flight home.
Being high is cool and all, but sometimes after smoking that good, you'll still find yourself just laying on the bed like, okay, what now? Well, don't you worry, cause after watching this video, you'll definitely have some great new ideas, so you never have to spend your highs just frantically thinking about every single situation you've ever been in your life and how you should have acted versus how you actually did. Anyway, let's talk about number 1. Going to the store/supermarket. When you ain't high, it always feels like such a chore to get groceries. But I'm telling you, you get some of that exotic homegrown green in your system, and you'll forget you're even there as a chore. The place feels like a whole theme park with the amount of stuff there's to do. Like, I'll be going to Walmart to get some toilet paper and end up walking out with a Nerf gun, a booster pack of Pokemon cards, and an unholy amount of munch. You really just gotta be careful that you don't get too distracted, cause it always sucks going back home like, did you get the toilet paper like I asked? Left in the car, I think. Let me just go get it real quick. Be back in like an hour. An hour? I've even had times where I go to the store so zoinked, I end up wandering around for over an hour. Yet for some reason, I get all paranoid at some point, cause I always feel like people start looking at me funny when I'm at the toy section or something. Like, what bro? I'm allowed to be here as much as the next guy.
You've been playing this demo for 30 minutes now. Can you not see that other people want to play it too?
I don't know what you on about, bro, but I ain't leaving till I drop this nuke. Number 2. Talking about random stuff. There ain't nothing better than sharing a big old spliff with the homies and just chatting. Either you start talking about some deep, universal, existential stuff, or...
Bro, you ever think that, like, dolphins are up to something? What you mean, man?
I mean, they literally torture other creatures for entertainment, so, like, it's a fact they're evil and smart.
Yeah, I guess.
Think about it. They're evil, right? So if they were more powerful than us, they'd kill us all. But they're also smart enough, so they know that right now they don't stand a chance.
Where are you going with this?
Bro, you know that 80% of the ocean is unexplored, right? Yeah, so what? So what? Bro, dolphins are smart and evil. They want to rule the world, but they know they can't beat us right now. So the only logical answer is...
that they're plotting something in the vast ocean?
Yeah, where the humans can't see or hear them.
Bro, so you're saying it's only a matter of time before we live in on the planet of the dolphins?
Exactly. Yeah, right. Number 3. Cooking. I think everyone knows that the spice makes your creative side shine, but it also temporarily pulls a domain extension jutsu on your stomach, increasing your appetite tenfold. And if you live in a household like mine, where the kitchen holds just 2 pieces of bologna, some milk, sugar, salt, like 4 almost expired eggs, and if I'm lucky, maybe some bread, you're gonna have to be real creative if the munchies hit you. And at first I thought, man, I don't wanna cook, I just wanna eat. But bro, once you get into it, you'll be feeling like Gordon Ramsay, monologuing every move you make like,
just a pinch of salt on these fine Irish eggs. Rustic. And now it's time to add the secret ingredient, the dry-aged Italian bologna. Okay, so it looks like it's not dry-aged, it's just 2 months expired, but no problem. Just scrape off the mold and it's as good as new. Fantastic.
Once you start your cooking journey, you'll never turn back. And don't be too hard on yourself when your mom says that all your food tastes like dog poop, cause she just doesn't understand what culinary cuisine truly is. Number 4. Exploring places. This one is very situational because depending on where you live, you might not have anything to explore. But usually, when you look around enough, you'll find plenty of places. For example, I live in a very small town with a population less than 20,000, but we have an abandoned prison and some castle ruins. But it don't have to be something special like that. Just get suited and start walking, bro. Even if it's just strolling around in the city, when you really high, you'll be feeling like you in Cyberpunk 2077. Nah, for real, you'll even have a bunch of glitches, just like the game. Walking in circles, things suddenly appearing in front of you, NPC characters from previous missions popping up randomly. It's crazy. Also, it's healthy to go outside, so go ahead and be the productive stoner that gets stuff done, not just eats Doritos and watches Family Guy all day.
Even though those Doritos are mighty tempting.
Socializing high. You ever tried holding a conversation while being blasted? It usually ends up being a mixture of trying to remember what the other guy said whilst analyzing the little bit of details that did manage to penetrate into your mind. Just recently, I had a guy come up to me at the store like,
should I get the spicy ones or the cheesy ones? Hey bro, what you doing at Walmart? Who is this guy? Yeah, we met at that party a month ago. Oh yeah, I should say something.
yeah bro, just chilling.
Just chilling at Walmart?
That's cool that you can just
what does
chill
that
like
even
that.
mean?
My mom just
Should
died
I say
yesterday
something to
and
add to
I don't
it?
know where to go.
No, it's too long
I'm gonna
already.
be homeless soon.
Wait, what's this guy talking about?
So yeah, just been really sad because of that lately. Yeah man, I get you. But don't worry, cause there's always a bright side at the end of the tunnel, man.
Bright side at the end of the tunnel? My mom just died and I'm gonna be homeless now, so I don't know about that, man.
I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know.
But I just told you 10 seconds ago.
Okay, see you, bro. Hope things get better soon. What was that guy talking about? I don't know. I think I'll take the spicy Doritos. It's even worse when you blast it onto Mars with a spaceship type of high. Cause I swear, I be getting memory wiped every 5 seconds. Like, I don't want to be mean or anything, but please understand, if you don't get your point across in 5 seconds or less, I'm gonna be right back to thinking about that one meme on Reddit I saw 2 weeks ago. Bro, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I finally got it. The secret to making endless money is... And that's all you gotta do. Wait, sorry bro, I'm kind of faded than a hoe out here right now, so you said the secret to making endless dough was... Yeah man, what I was basically saying was that all you gotta do is start a business involving... So yeah man, I can help you get started. I've already quit my job and moved to Dubai. You can join me. Move to Dubai? What's this guy on about? I think I'm just gonna leave. So bro, what you think? You ready to get rich? Nah man, I don't think that's gonna work. Now, excuse me, I'm gonna go take a shit. It's not all bad though. You gotta love it when you see a homie at the store who's also blasted to the moon. The Zaza makes you connected on a multiversal level like, hey bro, what you doing? Nothing, chillin'. Funny you say that. I would have answered the exact same way if you asked me that question. Sorry man, I'm faded than a hoe right now, and I just got hit with that memory wipe, so what you say again? Oh shit, you high too? Duh, I'm at the store, what else would I be? For sure, you tryna hit up that candy section though? Damn dog, you read my mind. Unfortunately, social situations can be pretty tough if you're not an experienced blazer, especially if you're talking to people you want to leave a good impression on. But remember, if you're ever in irreversible trouble and you have no idea what to respond, just say, that's crazy, bruh, but I'm way too faded right now.
I'm sorry, I don't think I quite understand.
I said that I'm faded than a hoe up in this bit.
No, Charles, you're fired.
Have you ever gotten like really high and thought, man, I got a lot of energy right now. I don't feel like just sitting around and munching all day at all. Yeah, most likely not. But if you've leveled up enough and are determined to go on an adventure, here are my 5 best places to go while baked. Number 5. The park. This one's a go-to hangout spot for most cannabis enthusiasts because, well, it's the park. There's all kinds of nature there, plus the overall vibe is nice and chill, especially if it's a sunny day. This place is at its best when you're with your friends, cause someone always comes up with the randomest idea that ends up being fun as fuck. Hey guys, you see that tree there? Yeah, what about it? I think we should all climb it, right? And smoke on the tree. Bro, you're a goddamn genius. Man, this is nice, isn't it? You can also go at night, which makes it a whole different type of cool. Get swanked, put on some scary music, and just walk around. I've had instances where I'm dead certain I see a goddamn demon next to a tree, lurking, waiting for the perfect time to possess me. But you know your boy a level 5000 holy warrior, so I ain't worried about no Annabella pulling up on me, cause I keep that Excalibur real close.
Fatality.
Number 4. The zoo. You ever look at some lions right in the eye, daring them to come get you, cause you can take them easy? Well, it's pretty fun cause the devil's lettuce makes every thought so significant, and you really do start believing stuff like, hey, bro, I'm telling you. The lion pulls up, boom, jump out the way, bang, liver punch, front flip on it, neck snap, easy. You're way too high, man. There's obviously so much more to do than pretending you can take on lions, like looking at elephants, looking at turtles, looking at crocodiles. Okay, so the activities pretty much boil up to just looking at animals. But shit, it's pretty fun, don't hate on the zoo, you fool. Number 3. A water park. This one has a special place in my heart because I have always loved water parks ever since I was a kid. They're all the fun of an amusement park, but way shorter lines and you actually know where you are. Unlike a theme park which takes a freaking PhD in geography to navigate. Anyway, the one problem with this place is you gotta get your high just right. You smoke too much and you'll get overwhelmed and tired. You smoke too little, well, then you'll probably be thinking that you should have smoked more all day. But when you get that right, it's fun to the max. Cause man, I'll be feeling like a kid again. Oh boy, can't wait to go down the red slide. Bro, that's the kid slide. I told you, Daniel. I want to go down the red slide, understand?
Number 2, the cinema. Kind of an obvious one, but then again, I know a lot of people who say they're too scared to go high, cause they think they'll get paranoid or something. I was like that a little bit too at first, but now I be getting baked beyond comprehension and start doing the most. Sneaking in food and drinks, putting my feet up on the seat in front of me, munching like a maniac, stuff like that. One thing though I do recommend is go to a low-key movie, meaning a movie that isn't blockbuster or has been in the cinema for a while. Cause most of the times they're close to 0 people in those ones, meaning you pretty much have a private cinema. So no one will be mad if you start chatting with your homies or munching like a madman that hasn't eaten in 3 weeks.
Hey, what movie we watching again?
Number 1. You or your friend's place. I'ma set the scene. You have a free day and you're bored. You watched everything good in the cinema, been to your local water park 1,000 times, and unfortunately, it's a cold and rainy day, so you don't want to go to the park or the zoo. Here you are thinking, man, I'ma really spend my free day doing nothing. When you feel your phone vibrate and you check and see it's your homie, Michael. You answer the call and he's like, hey yo, my parents went away for the night. I got the whole house to myself. I was thinking, you, me, and Daniel have a limit-breaking smoke sesh and see where the day takes us. There's just something about smoking up with your homies in a crib by yourself, knowing you have the whole day to just find entertainment in the stupidest things.
Okay. Okay, I'm feeling it. Yeah. Hey. Fly like a dragon, sting like a bee. Mess with me, homie, you messing with the team. Got lots of guns, got lots of money. Spend it all on a pack of honey. Ay. Bam.
Bro, that shit was straight fire. Blazing with people is a lot different than blazing alone. Because whereas being alone, you can just let your mind drift to wherever, if you're with others, you have to, well, at least you should, understand the general vibe and direction of the convos and interactions. Unfortunately, however much you might try to be unbiased, you will discover that there are certain people you will want to smoke with again and will always be invited to the sesh. But then there are also dudes who, after you get faded with once, will leave you contemplating if you ever want to consume that za in a social setting again. Or at least with new people, cause you never know if the new guy will be the dude who gets way too intense about everything. Nobody likes this dude, and for a reason. When mofos is faded, they just wanna chill and be happy, but this gremlin finds it necessary to express his deepest resentment or strongest belief in his personal opinions. The group could be talking about some chill like the fragrance of the ocean or the beauty of the sun, and this dude will start spitting out shit like, man, what a day to get lit. No clouds, sunlight on the skin, it's warm, just great. Yeah, man, you're right. What a time to be alive.
You do know about global warming, right? The day we are having is just a byproduct of the disaster that is about to overtake our planet.
Yeah, I know, but shit, I ain't worrying about all that right now. I'm just enjoying the moment, you know?
Well, you should be. Do you know that people like you are the reason why this is all happening? People who don't care and just do whatever they please.
Hey man, chill. I recycle. Plus, I don't even be driving that much, man. I just be walking around.
Whatever. You do you. Just know you're a part of the problem, not the solution. Like I am. I'm like a part of the solution. I'm really cool.
Like, screw you, man. Learn to read the room, Mr. I think like this and therefore you must too. But switching things up, the next guy on the list is someone you definitely want in the sesh. The dude who knows a bunch of random but interesting stuff. Bro, I always enjoy it when a dude like this is in the sesh. Instead of pushing some agenda like the previous guy, he always just adds to the convo in a meaningful and interesting way. Like mofos could be talking about some History Channel shit, and this dude would be knowing all the facts and details. He pretty much like the sesh version of Google, but instead of giving you long paragraphs, he hits you with stuff like, guys, even though it's called World War II, it was only fought in Europe. So why it ain't called Europe War II? What? Nah, but real, I could make a whole video on the stuff I've heard from dudes like this. But the next guy is more of a hit or miss. The dude who rarely smokes.
Now, this man either folds under the pressure of the za and just sits quietly observing everybody like an owl, or instead he becomes one with the za and becomes a conduit of it, allowing words to flow from the holy plant itself. Plus, I swear, laughter is contagious, and if a dude like this is feeling comfortable, he always 100% of the time finds everything hilarious, and that good vibe rubs off on everybody, boosting everyone's giggles by a good 25%. But as I said, he kind of a hit or miss, so if he doesn't allow the za to flow through his veins, he'll just sit there quietly giggling by himself like Gollum or something. Yet, you shouldn't hold it against him, cause I think we've all been there, overwhelmed by the power of the green magic. But this next guy is the exact opposite and the universally hated dude at the sesh. The fool who hogs the spliff. No one likes a greedy spliff hogger, especially if he himself did not bring any to the sesh and is just riding on the other's hard-earned zaza. The excuse this dog always has is,
My tolerance is much higher than all yours, so in reality, we're all getting the same amount.
and I mean, yeah, technically, but still, that's on you. If you haven't been managing your tolerance and been abusing the za to the point you need to smoke the whole spliff of premium backwood to feel something, then you better bring extra stuff to the sesh. And if you can't afford it, well, start a GoFundMe or something, you goddamn parasite. Shit's pissing me off just thinking about it. But this next guy definitely won't piss you off. In fact, when this dude is rumored to be at the sesh, it's always a must-go. I'm talking, of course, about the plug. Now, you might be wondering, why is this guy so great? Why is it a must-go when he is at the sesh? Well, the answer to that is, he is the plug, and therefore has a shitload of Zaza, and the best part being, it's usually all free. Bro, I've smoked with the plug many times, and they always bust out that exotic stuff for everybody to enjoy. And honestly, that's just a part of it, because this guy knows a lot about the magic green plant, and I swear, the best thing to talk about when high is Zaza, how it's grown, the differences in strains, the differences in effects. It all becomes 200% more interesting when you blazed. And on top of all that, you know for 100% sure that this dude will never freak out nor ruin the group's vibe because he got too high. Shit, my man might freak out for not being high enough.
Smoke weed every day. To some, this is their mantra, and to others, it is just something they said in 4th grade to sound cool, along with, of course, bitch getting money. But did you know, smoking weed isn't just some 21st century trend where after COVID everyone just realized, man, this sucks. Yo, did you hear? The lockdown is ending next week. We finally get to leave our rooms. Man, this sucks. No. People have been getting high off that homegrown natural supply for decades, centuries, dare I say millennia. And over these countless years, a lot of the people who shaped our history also shaped finely ground botanical matter tightly packed within a thin, often translucent paper forming a perfect tube. AKA a joint. I'm saying they smoked weed, okay? Anyway, some of these people we can confirm to have consumed the Lord's loud, and the others we, well, unfortunately just have suggesting evidence for. And one will be complete speculation by me, which, try and guess which one of them is which, I'll also tell you at the end of the video. First up, William Shakespeare. The idea that William Shakespeare may have smoked cannabis stems from findings in the early 2000s where scientists discovered pipe fragments in Shakespeare's garden. These pipes contain traces of cannabis, among other substances. While there is no direct evidence that Shakespeare himself used cannabis, the presence of these compounds has led to speculation about whether he might have experimented with that top-shelf Zaza. This theory is further fueled by some interpretations of his writings, such as in Sonnet 76, where he mentions invention in a noted weed, which some suggest could be a subtle nod to using weed as a source of creative inspiration. However, these are only speculations, and there's no conclusive evidence to confirm them. Me, however, have no doubt in my mind that that man at least once in his lifetime got faded than a hoe. I mean, they found signs of cannabis among other substances, suggesting to me that one of Shakespeare's friends like Thomas Green or James Burbage once brought Shakespeare some weed not knowing what it was, and after getting high, Shakespeare was all like, to be or not to be, got rich and famous, and then went his entire life trying to find more weed, hence the other substances found in that pipe. But hey, that's just a theory. A high theory. Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria might not be the first person you'd imagine puffing on a joint, but history has its surprises. Back in the Victorian era, our dear Queen was quite the savant when it came to pain management. Prescribed cannabis by her royal physician, Sir J. Russell Reynolds, Victoria reportedly used it to relieve menstrual cramps. This makes her one of the earliest known VIPs of the medical marijuana club, proving even monarchs need a little herbal relief now and then. No word on whether it made court affairs more amusing, but one could certainly hope. Although this one is proven to be true, unlike Shakespeare, it isn't quite as, well, entertaining is the right word, I guess, as there really is no proof that she ever smoked that OG, just put a few drops under her tongue. Did she ever have the munchies? Did she ever get intentionally high before, let's say, a play to make it more enjoyable? I guess we'll never know. One can only ponder about the royal rotation. George Washington. The $1 bill. America's first president and perhaps its first agricultural innovator in the realm of hemp. In his days, tending to the vast fields of Mount Vernon, Washington got quite savvy with his crops, particularly hemp, which was used primarily for industrial purposes like making ropes and fabrics. But here's a little historical nugget. Washington wrote about separating male from female hemp plants. Now, to the untrained eye, this might just seem like good old farming, but those in the know might wink at the idea that George was onto something more recreational. I mean, why else fuss over female plants known for their higher THC content? Well, there's no smoking gun, or smoking pipe as it were, to prove he partook himself. It does raise eyebrows, and maybe even a few smiles at the thought of the father of his country partaking in a bit of the herb. Of course, there are some other reasons why George could have wanted to separate female plants from male ones, but I just can't imagine being so into weed farming and not even once being curious enough to smoke it. Can you? Probably not. So conclusion, I think he smoked. You think he smoked? He smoked. Herodotus. Often dubbed the father of history, he had quite the knack for detailing the quirky habits of ancient cultures. In his tales, he mentions the Scythians, a group that really knew how to throw a smoky party. They weren't just tossing burgers on the grill, but were burning cannabis seeds to whip up a bathhouse-style smoke fest. Imagine this, ancient warriors chilling in felt tents, getting secondhand highs from hotboxing with hemp. Which leads us to Alexander the Great. Some cultures around his empire used cannabis, such as the Scythians, who, as I mentioned earlier, Herodotus noted used it in steam baths. However, there are no records or indications that Alexander himself used cannabis. His conquest did bring him into contact with many different peoples and cultures, so it's likely he was aware of various herbal practices. However, connecting him directly to cannabis use is, well, fight on! Light on. Unlikely. Louis Armstrong. The jazz virtuoso with a trumpet and a grin as wide as the Mississippi had a special relationship with gauge, his preferred term for marijuana. Armstrong wasn't just casual about his cannabis. He considered it essential to his music and well-being. He famously said that it made him feel good, didn't make him mad, and that he couldn't forget it even if he tried. So integral was marijuana to his routine that he wrote to President Eisenhower advocating for its legalization. We always looked at pot as a sort of medicine, a cheap drunk, and with much better thoughts than one that's full of liquor. Wise words if I do say so myself. For Armstrong, weed was a part of the jazz lifestyle, keeping him cool in the face of the era's hot prejudices and even hotter jazz clubs. Carl Sagan. The Cosmos' personal tour guide was not only fascinated by the stars, but also by the starry effects of marijuana. Under the nom de plume, Mr. X, aka Sagan, extolled the virtues of weed in an essay that spoke of it as both a source of profound philosophical insights and a simple pleasure. He argued that cannabis had a remarkable power to enhance curiosity, appreciation for art, and sensory experiences, essentially deepening the user's connection to the universe. His private use of cannabis was a tool for scientific meditation and personal enlightenment, a kind of mental spacecraft exploring the uncharted territories of the human mind, all while maintaining a vigorous career in astrophysics. What a G! His appreciation for weed was not just about enjoyment, but also an intellectual pursuit, adding a layer of contemplation to his stargazing. This one is one of my favorites because it really just proves that weed doesn't make a hardworking person lazy, it makes a lazy person lazier. And in the case of Mr. X, no, not you Elon Musk, Carl, it's awesome to see an advocate for weed that isn't a rapper or a retired athlete, but an esteemed astrophysicist. No, not you either, Neil deGrasse Tyson, we all know how smart you are. Final person on our list, and the most prominent in Zaza use. Everything he described makes sense to me, as although I'm not hippie enough to say my Zaza destruction is due to me wanting to deepen my connection to the universe, I do however prefer to play No Man's Sky high as balls. Sunrock, the most powerful grass that humanity has ever conjured up, with even its less potent relative, moonrock, being so extreme that
Moonrock is too
says
much,
it's
dog.
too much. And since I had once already traveled to the moon and made it back alive, barely, I saw it only fitting for me to conquer the sun as
The
well.
ultimate is sun.
But unlike last time, where I was in Amsterdam with my brother and had the comfort of tweaking together, this time I was alone, nearly 6,000 miles away from home, in the city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada. The story kicks off a couple days after I had hit my first blinker and discovered a new realm of high. You know, kinda like Columbus when he discovered America, but unlike Columbus who annihilated the indigenous people, I was annihilating the Zaza, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after seeing firsthand what the land of the free can offer in terms of getting obliterated beyond the realms of Mother Nature, I was quite intrigued. So, out of curiosity, I decided to Google strongest weed you can get in Las Vegas, just in case there was something more potent than moonrock, which up until this point I thought was the pinnacle of bud. So after stumbling upon an article comparing the rocks from the moon and sun, I realized that in my ignorance I had crowned a false king, and the only deserving punishment for a big smarty pants weed stickman YouTuber like myself was to feel the full wrath of the true strongest weed in the universe. I hopped on the local Las Vegas weed dispensary site in hopes of having it delivered to me like the Benjamin, but either due to current weather conditions or just the delivery man greening the fuck out, it said, "We are currently not providing deliveries." But for the time being, I had no other choice than to leave my apartment and go to the closest dispensary in hopes of them having this exotic nug in stock. Only problem was that it was night and well, your boy wasn't exactly staying at Caesar's Palace, so as I was preparing to go outside in the dark, where, mind you, I saw a guy walking around wearing a safety vest, rocking a handlebar mustache, and carrying a double-barrel shotgun the night before, I just had to take a quick rip from the bong to make it a high story, you know?
Okay, 2 miles that way. Wish I had a car. Guess I'll just run. Fucking bullshit.
A few minutes later.
Hello, sir? Oh yeah, hello. You guys have something called sunrock? It's like, nope. Just sold the last stock. Those guys bought it. We got moonrock, though. No, I've already done that. You know where I can get some sunrocks, though? Yeah, the store a mile from here should have some left. Okay, yeah, thank you.
A few minutes later.
Sorry, I gotta see your passport first, bruh.
No, but this is like my government-issued ID, can you...
Look, I'm sorry. We have a lot of people visiting from banana republics these days, and we can't start selling to everybody with a rinky-dinky, this is a real country, Google it, ID card. Come back with a passport and I'll hook you up.
I'm not from Banana Republic. We made Skype. Skype, guys.
Hello there.
Yes, I had to now walk back 3 miles, get my passport, walk another 3 to get the sunrock, and then walk another 3 back home. And mind you, I had already ran 3 miles too. So you know, of course, cause your boy fast as ball, quick as an electrical jolt, I got an Uber back home. But now I was fresh again, so of course I put on my Space Jams and I got an Uber. But then when I was there and showed my passport, received my $80 weed, I was not trying to get robbed on the walkway filled with homeless camps in Las Vegas fiends, so I got an Uber. Finally, after wasting a week's transportation budget in 40 minutes, I was back in my apartment, sunrock in hand and rolling papers in my pockets. And yes, unlike last time with the moonrock, I wasn't about to smack that shit from my bong and get assimilated. Cause from the blinker I had done a couple days back, I learned my lesson about concentrate. Do not underestimate it. So I rolled me up a Slimmy Slimmer, basically a very small J. And something you might not know is that with these caviar nugs like sunrock, you're not really supposed to grind them with a regular grinder, so I just used my fingers to break the nug apart, and because of that, well, let's just say the airflow on this J was god awful. Later on I would find out you're not supposed to smoke sunrock from a J at all, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I went to my patio and attempted to light this abomination, and I mean, it really was. Imagine taking some A4 Wagyu steak and serving it in a dirty bucket, but alas, I still... The first puff. Yes, the goddamn first puff got me drafted in a galactic war against the Matrix. And I think that had to do with the fact that Jay only had like 3 puffs in it, because I was basically just smoking straight nugs. But I decided for the legacy of CBD, I shall do another puff. The French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the moon landing, the splitting of the atom, the theory of relativity, it all flashed before my eyes because I now saw the world from an interstellar position. And I would love to say I now went on some grand adventure and discovered the Holy Grail with some Las Vegas crackheads, but this was different. The high was spent glued to my couch, wondering the meaning of the universe and how I had traveled 6,000 miles across the ocean and was now sitting on a couch in some random Airbnb completely and utterly blasted beyond human understanding. After about 15 minutes of doing literally nothing but staring at my wall, I decided to watch some YouTube and found this guy called Oversimplified who makes these historical animation videos and spent a good portion of my high learning about the history of our world. Too bad I don't remember a goddamn thing, but at the time I felt like I was really becoming a damn scholar. I guess the lessons and memories of that high are waiting for me once I return to the land of the sun.
Where am I?
Man, I told you not to smoke that sunrock. You stuck on the sun now, fool, with the rest of us.
No! Oh, no, wait, that was just a dream. Damn, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, bro. You were in a hell of a kush coma.
Yeah, I guess I was.
Wait! Bro, I got stuck in a kush coma, my dudes. Shit was crazy, and I don't actually remember the exact dreams I saw, but they were pretty trippy, and it was one of those Inception things that had me waking up from a dream into another dream, son. Safe to say, I had gotten assimilated. But it was kind of nice, because it was a real clear high without anxiety, which usually when you get that obliterated, it always comes accompanied with just a little bit of anxiety at least. So, are sunrocks stronger than moonrocks? Yes, but the main thing I took from this high was that they also kinda better, but I mean, I've only done both once, so once I return to the US, I'll give them both another try and make a conclusion then.
I don't know about you guys, but it seems like nowadays most mofos would rather breathe mango juice mist than oxygen. I mean, for real, vaping is so normalized and common, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't do it. Like I swear, some dudes don't even have their own vape, but just know everybody else has one and rely on that to fill their addiction. Couldn't be me though. What you looking at? Anyway, since your boy is a freshly addicted nicotine fiend, I've experienced firsthand the levels of addiction to this devilish substance, and I hope for your guys' sakes, you've never nor never will touch the stuff. Level 1. Bro, why would anyone like this? Your first puff off that awful mango stick, and even though it tastes pretty nice, you probably thought to yourself, bro, why would anyone do this? Just chew gum or something. But then after a couple more puffs, cause I mean you're already at the function or bathroom or whatever, you're like, wait, what's this feeling? I feel a bit dizzy and lightheaded, but I think I like it. And boom, you just took your first step to addiction land. But if you're one of the strong, mythical humans who after that realization also realized that this shit can get bad real quick and stopped, big ups to you, big dog, cause you actually a true G for that. But for most people, it was more like, oh, this is pretty nice. I think I'll visit the bathroom tomorrow as well. And well, that right there is the beginning of the end, cause if you go to that bathroom the next day too, you'll move right on to Level 2, Social Vapor. Well, you didn't stop yourself when it would have been easy, and now here you are. Not a resident in the school bathroom yet, but a frequent visitor. At this point, you still don't have your own vape, cause in your mind, you know that's when you can't make any more excuses. You would be addicted and would have to face the harsh reality. But while you're at this level, mofos will urge you to buy your own one, and well, that's because you're always begging for them quick rips without donating them yourself. Which, although kind of a dick move, if you can somehow take those ego hits of brokey, get your own vape, fool. Ah, it's the quick rip beggar. Without buying your own, you're actually doing good. And to be honest, vape juice costs pennies, and most of the fools who tell you to buy your own just don't want to feel inferior, so they try to get you completely addicted like them. But if you fall under the spell of the Tate fans and the word brokey destroys you, plus, you know, it would be nice to be able to inhale that cancerous mango juice at home too. You'll move on to Level 3. The Tispo Vape Man is here. You bought yourself a disposable vape, cause well, it's the easiest way to get your own nicotine addiction machine without forking up $50 for one of those weird futuristic box things that make them mega clouds. And because of that, your inhaling of mango juice has quadrupled at least, if not hexex mega dupled, which is like 15 times more. I think. I don't know math. You vape on your way to school or work, you vape during that time, you vape on the way back, and you vape when you're home. So yeah, things ain't looking that good. But remember how at level 2 you told yourself, I will admit that I'm addicted when I buy my own vape? Yeah, well, now you're telling yourself, I just bought one, I'm not addicted or anything. Which will be a recurring theme in the unholy land of addiction. Good news is, this is the point where most people draw some type of line. So like, I can only buy one vape a week, or I'ma slowly start trying to decrease my consumption of cancer. Bad news is though, nicotine is gonna try its damn best to beat that sense of moderation out of you. And if you let it, well, you're going to. Level 4. I'm addicted, aren't I? Welcome to Addiction Land. It's a lot like Yodi Land, except for it sucks balls. And there's monsters and demons and stuff too. At this point, you don't go anywhere without your vape. I mean for real, the thought of not having it with you makes you low-key anxious. And also, you've abandoned trying to hide your addiction from others. Meaning, before, let's say you went to a family gathering or something, you would deem that a no-vape zone, cause being addicted is something no one wants to admit to themselves, especially the people who are closest to you. But at least you're not addicted to the point of not going to places you can't vape. Because although it is tough not being able to inhale mango juice for an extended period of time, you still have the self-respect to be like, no, I'm not that much of an addict that I'm not gonna go to my homie's funeral cause I can't vape there. I will endure the pain. Unfortunately, the whole addiction is deeper, and you still haven't touched the bottom, so if you keep on inhaling without lowering the frequency of it, you'll move on to Level 5. The depths of hell. Well, you're addicted and your brain has ran out of excuses to make you feel better about yourself. If anyone asks if you're ever gonna quit, your answer will most likely be, maybe one day, or when I need to. The latter being such an incredibly sad and stupid answer that I'm pretty sure the person saying it doesn't even understand how messed up it is. Like, what do you mean? You'll stop when your doctor says you have lung cancer? Bro, it's too late. Here's your chemotherapy for sure. Treatment starts tomorrow. All jokes aside, guys, this is awful. I've heard people say stuff like that, and it really does sadden me that they themselves don't even understand how shitty of a situation they're in. At this point, you have 100% started experiencing awful side effects like smoker's cough, phlegm in your throat 24/7, and overall low energy and mood when you're not inhaling nicotine. The road to recovery is long and hard, but if you can somehow find the courage to start trying to beat this awful, devilish, monstrous addiction, you'll go to Level 6. Recovery. Not much to say here. When you got all the way to level 5, it's gonna be a slow climb down. Unlike the lower levels where if your willpower allows it, you can just stop on the spot and go back to level 0. Here though, you gotta slowly go down cause you have actual side effects from not consuming nic. But for all my homies who have the courage to admit to themselves that this shit has gotten out of hand, I applaud you and hope for a day where all of us can chill together in peace without having that constant voice in our heads going, hey, it's been 20 minutes. Time for some nicotine. And if you're thinking about trying vaping, then please, for me, you, and everybody who loves you, don't. It's awful and lame as fuck. Vaping versus smoking. Both activities extremely similar to the naked eye, yet in reality, these lung-destroying practices are quite different. The same way smoking used to be a very niche thing, mostly done by hippies in the 1960s to 1970s, so was vaping in the 2000s to early 2010s. Yet both smoking and vaping slowly but surely took over the world, to where nowadays you'll be walking down the street and see a dude puffing on a strawberry ice guacamole stick on one side, and on the other see a bunch of college kids sitting on a bench eye squinting like they got hit with a flashbang, holding the Teenage Mutant Ninja card screaming, blinker! And although a lot of times a vapor can also be a smoker and the other way around, I'm here to try and figure out which one of these practices is definitively superior to the other. So you can once and for all say to the opposing faction, at least I don't vape.
Or at least I don't smoke. So let's get started with the first category, and that is the effect. This is probably the most important category because if you're going to damage your lungs and throat by inhaling a foreign substance, it better be at least a fun time. Which I think we can all agree this is where smoking and vaping are completely different. With vaping, the high you get, if you can even call it that, is a buzz in your body, lightheadedness, bit of an increase to your social battery, and of course a small dopamine boost. But here's the kicker, you only feel this effect like the first couple times you do it, and later mostly only in the morning on your first puffs. So the action of vaping just kind of becomes a mindless habit where you're doing it not for the effect but just because your body is telling you,
hey, it's been like 30 minutes, you should really go and rip that 99 Nick strawberry mango punch.
Whereas the high you get from the grass is actually what you're inhaling it for, and although the effects vary from person to person, they usually consist of better mood, increased appetite aka the munchies, laughter, the increased significance of your thoughts, creativity, laziness, sleepiness, etc. But also, these effects are felt for much longer, of about 2 to 4 hours, compared to vaping, which is literally like 10 seconds. So if you look at it straight up, then smoking absolutely takes this category with ease. But then again, for people who are prone to getting paranoid and need everything planned out, the high from the za isn't guaranteed to be enjoyable, cause I mean, you can just green the fuck out. Whereas with vaping, you can't really get a bad trip, cause I mean, there is no trip. You're just sitting puffing on your mango stick doing whatever you're doing. But all in all, I'ma still go with the za on this one. So 1 to 0, smoking. Now let's look at the cost. Whether you want to inhale Chinese sweatshop chemicals that taste like strawberries or the devil's lettuce, it's gonna cost you. But the question is, which one is more expensive at every level of consumption? Well, let's look at it. Level 1 for vapors would be you just buy a dispo every week or so, which comes out to about $20 to $40 a month. And level 1 for smokers, I'd say it's about the same if you just blaze up on the weekends. So far, they're tight on cost, but now if you move up to level 2, which I think for vaping, it now indicates you're addicted and spending anywhere between $80 to $100 on dispos a month. For the za, level 2 would be smoking up once or twice every night at the end of your day, which although you're technically smoking every day, I don't think you'll be spending more than $100 a month. So looks like smoking is edging it out. Well, that's until the next level, where most vapors probably buy themselves a box mod, which is the equivalent of buying a car instead of taking a taxi everywhere. And on the other end, here's where smoking za can get a bit more expensive. At level 3, you blazing 24/7, and you're high not just at the nighttime when you're done with your day, but also when you're going through your day. And because of that, your tolerance has gone up a lot, to the point you having to spend over $200 a month just to continue your za smoking, which don't let it get that far. Please, it's really not worth it. And at level 3 vaping, because you can just get a box mod eco nic machine, your costs ain't really go up that much. Shit, it might have even gone down. So basically, at the higher echelon of being a nic fiend, it's much cheaper than being a 24/7 high stoner. Which would mean vaping wins, right? Well, technically yeah, but to be honest, is it really a good thing you can puff on your lung cancer strawberry ice machine for so cheap? I don't think so, and honestly, I'm kinda happy about how if you smoke up 24/7, your tolerance will evolve to a point you have to drop a bag every month just to keep up with your dependency. That being said, I'ma have to leave it at a tie here. 2-1 smoking grass. Now it's time for addictiveness. I think this one's a no-brainer. Nicotine is obviously more addictive, right? Well, yeah, but there are some more aspects to this comparison, like the fact even if you're completely addicted to nic, you can go about your everyday life just the same, cause it doesn't make you slower mentally, nor lazy, nor paranoid. It's just slowly but surely giving you lung cancer. But with za, if you really start abusing that shit, it'll affect your everyday life, cause it can lower motivation, make you less driven, slower mentally, and hazy. But all of that is only if you let yourself get that far, which is much harder than with nic. Cause the za is just less addictive than the mango stick, meaning with vaping it can literally take just one puff to get you hooked, but with the za it's more like an experience. So although you might have a great time your first high, you won't be in the school bathrooms the next day like,
yo, you think you can give me a couple puffs off that? Haven't hit anything in hours. Really? Give me that!
Okay, it's not that bad, but be wary. Nicotine fiends. They'll do anything for a puff off that elf bar. For real. Anyway, this point goes to the grass yet again because of its much less addictive nature. Free one, smoking. But maybe this next category will ignite a comeback for vaping. Availability. Nic sticks are sold everywhere, from gas stations to smoke shops to some grocery stores. And on the other hand, the Zaza, if you're in the United States, where let's be honest, you probably are, you can get them at dispensaries or your local Pablo Escobar, the plug. Which unfortunately, dispensaries are more of a luxury that only legal state citizens in the US are afforded. And for the rest of us, we have to deal with the lawless, sometimes sleazy creatures called plugs. I mean, for real, why the fuck do I, a law-abiding citizen, have to deal with criminals on a weekly basis just because I want to relax and eat some double-stuffed Oreos on a Friday night? But if I want to get shit-faced drunk and go outside with the homies committing 3 counts of disrupting the peace, 4 counts of destruction of public property, and 58 counts of,
Yo, what's that guy looking at? He got a problem?
then that's totally fine. So I think we can all agree vaping takes this one. Free 2. Now time for a category which will either tie it up or secure the major Tate W for smoking. And that is the community. Vape Nation versus yeah man. Or at least that's the stereotype. In reality, it ain't really like that. Although from my experience, vapors are more extroverted because they're always vaping in a circle in the damn bathroom chit-chatting about their flavors. And smokers are more introverted and chill, who would rather sit down and play some modded Minecraft with the homies than go to the club. Oh, and if you're looking for a place where you can find more people like that, then why not join the CBDBro Discord? We also just hit 5k members, so join the revolution, the weed revolution. Anyway, this could be biased because I'm a smoker myself, but I personally think the Zaza community is better than the vaping. Although I really don't like grass NPCs who make the Za their whole personality, these dudes are pretty easily spottable and avoidable. But I mean, vapors got the same thing. Imagine standing in a circle, everybody puffing on their dispo, and then some dude pulls out the Vaporizer Ultra 3000i Max, fully equipped with 8 flavors, a touchscreen, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth capability. I think the exact same thing that I do with grass NPCs. That's a bit too much, man. Anyway, 4-2. Smoking wins. January 1st, 2014. There is a line of people in front of a store in Denver, Colorado. Time goes by and they finally open, which then a man walks in and buys the first ever legal recreational bag of weed in the US and gets absolutely obliterated. And I'm pretty sure no one expected this event to bring forth one of the fastest growing industries in the United States. From being known as the murder drug in India to going to your local dispensary and buying an $80 bag of banana strawberry pudding flavored weed, this is the story of how the Za went from illegal to a projected $100 billion industry by 2028. And it all started in the early 1900s. The initial regulation of cannabis in the United States came with the enactment of the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. There is a widespread belief that the decision to outlaw cannabis was driven by racial motivations, for you see, during the early 1900s, a growing influx of Mexican immigrants into the US prompted a shift in media discourse towards portraying the ganja as a dangerous substance, leading to the implementation of stricter drug and cannabis laws. Media reports even went as far as labeling marijuana as the murder drug. Yeah, bro, not meth and not coke. Weed was the murder drug.
What are you doing, bro? Smoking that murder drug.
Oh, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, man, it makes you violent and literally go insane.
Oh, damn, I'll put it away. Thanks for warning me. Nah, you good. Just don't do it again. What's that?
This? Don't worry, this is just crack.
Also, during this time, newspapers frequently circulated assertions linking marijuana use to mental illness, promiscuity, and violent behavior. These claims significantly deterred recreational marijuana use among the majority of Americans, despite the substance not being widely recognized at the time. Which, my favorite of the bunch is definitely violent behavior. I just can't deny that every time I smoke a doozy at the end of my day, I get this sudden rage, and I just start fucking going apeshit. That's probably also a big reason why Bob Marley was such a war activist and always propagating rage and hatred. Disclaimer, that was all sarcasm. Anyway, later on, John Ehrlichman, or whatever the fuck his name is, a senior advisor to Nixon, was quoted as saying, well, the quote is pretty long and boring, so I'll just summarize it. Pause the video if you want to see the full version. Did we know we were finessing the public about weed? See, of course, dog. But you gotta understand, bro. We did it for America. We got the public to associate hippies with weed and blacks with heroin. Then we criminalized the shit out of it and went full commando on them. We talking Rambo. We talking death to the chopper. Shit, we went full D-Day on them motherfuckers, man. We hit so many damn licks. Shit was kind of ridiculous. This quote was kind of the catalyst of the 1970 Controlled Substance Act, which was the consolidation of over 200 previous drug laws into a single statute governing the production and distribution of specific substances. Under the Controlled Substance Act, drugs were categorized into 5 schedules based on their potential for abuse and medical utility. This streamlined the process of drafting and amending laws to encompass entire groups of drugs rather than addressing each one individually. Schedule 1 drugs, the most rigorously regulated, were classified as having no recognized medical value, so obviously medical marijuana must have been like the lowest schedule, right? Wrong! Despite evidence indicating a lower risk of abuse and clear medical benefits, marijuana was still placed under Schedule 1. Research has demonstrated its effectiveness in treating conditions such as AIDS, cancer, epilepsy, and various other medical ailments. But I guess Congress was still like,
it's not the Lord's loud. It's the devil's lettuce.
Since its initial prohibition, there have been ongoing movements advocating for the legalization of cannabis, which in the 1970s pressure to legalize weed intensified in California. Proposition 19 aimed to legalize the grass and was introduced on the ballot in 1972, but garnered only 33% of the vote, so it failed for now. The push for legalization has primarily focused on 3 distinct products: CBD, medical marijuana, and everybody's favorite, recreational marijuana. So finally in 1996, California became the pioneering state to overturn the prohibition of weed by legalizing medical marijuana, despite conflicting with the federal law, brah. Subsequently, in 2012, Colorado and Washington became the first states to legalize recreational weed use. Oh yeah.
Yo, bro, did you hear? Weed is finally legal.
Really?
Yeah, bro, I just bought this from a store. Shit is wild. So you're telling me if I went down to my underground farm, harvest my 20 or so pounds of weed, then go to the university campus, set up a weed lemonade stand, and sell all of my lemonades to the students, I'm not a drug dealer and just a businessman?
Nah, I think you can like have a couple grams, and your operation is still, well, not gonna lie, bro. I got a wire, and the FBI should be kicking your door in right about... FBI, open up! Which brings us to today, where the ZA is still federally illegal and a Schedule 1 drug, and because of that, there really isn't a lot of research on it. Between 2000 and 2018, $1.56 billion was allocated to cannabis research, with half of this sum dedicated to investigating the potential adverse effects of the drug in recreational use. This disproportionate allocation meant that understanding the harms of weed received 20 times more funding than any other area of research, while only a fraction, less than $5 million, was directed towards enhancing our understanding of its therapeutic application. In 2018, though, the Farm Bill legalized CBD throughout the US, as long as it followed the rules of staying below 0.3% THC, which this Farm Bill turned out to have a shit ton of legal loopholes, making the sale of real weed online completely legal and possible. More on that later. Anyway, because of the lack of research and, well, frankly, awful regulations, we are currently in the wild west of the cannabis industry. You might assume buying weed from a big brand is safer than, let's say, your friendly neighborhood plug, and in some cases it might be, but a lot of times your plug is selling the same shit a dispensary is, just the dispensary is putting it in a fancy bag. Even worse, there's a big issue with sprayed weed, which basically means bud that is artificially flavored in a machine to give the illusion of it being some exotic Havana pack, when in reality it's just a mid sprayed with banana flavor. So you're telling me this eighth costs $100 because it was grown and harvested in Uganda, Africa, right next to the exotic banana farms, and that's why it's banana flavor? Yup. Then why is there a spray bottle right there labeled banana?
Why are you asking so many questions, man?
Are you a cop?
What? No.
Guys, get over here. We gotta kill this guy.
But you can't fully blame the growers and dispensaries for this. The problem is the regulations and taxes that are put on these products are so hefty it makes turning a profit really hard. Basically, if your manufacturing cost isn't like at least 10 times less what you're selling it for, you're kinda screwed. There's also a multi-billion-dollar industry that spawned from the 2018 Farm Bill called the derivative industry. And if you don't know what derivatives are, they're basically weed, but sometimes altered chemically. Like for example, HHC, which is just THC but with an extra hydrogen molecule. The most insane derivative is THCA though, which is quite literally just weed. Only in its normal state before you heat it, it isn't. It's only after when you light it that shit converts to regular old, get you smacked like a penguin THC. Which, you know, unless your main method of getting high is sticking the nug up your ass. What I'm saying is, THCA is in every sense just THC when you are using it for the purpose of getting faded, which you probably are. But just because we are currently in the wild west of the weed industry, doesn't mean it's gonna be like this forever. More and more countries are legalizing and propelling weed further and further away from the dark shadow it used to be under. Germany is legalizing on April 1st, 2024, Spain has social cannabis clubs, the Netherlands just legalized, Canada legalized, etc. It seems every year that goes by, more and more countries are legalizing. And especially in the US, once they start getting solid tax laws and regulations on the stuff, I think a lot of the problems I mentioned earlier will fix themselves. Honestly, this is very cool, and I do believe you and me will live long enough to one day witness a generation who grow up with weed being looked at the same way as alcohol. The way I see it, as the old generation of politicians and world leaders fades, the stigma surrounding weed will too. You can even see glimpses of it today, as a lot of politicians are using legal weed as a way to get your vote, which, you know, don't let that be your main motivation for voting for someone, but you know, it's a bonus.
Man, smoking too much is such an awkward thing, especially because of how normalized getting faded has become. Nobody wants to be the guy who kills the vibe by admitting they graining the thaw out. Like, dudes be knowing they approaching their limit, but peer pressure is a bitch. Like this one time in school when we were smacking the paper planejamin on lunch break, and I could tell everybody was nearing the border between Yodiland and the Upside Down, but this motherfucker Salamander just kept on passing the J, and nobody wanted to be the first one to back out. Everyone kept on puffing and puffing until this one motherfucker just started puking. Like, goddamn. Safe to say, dude probably hasn't smoked again till this day. But you know, that was high school. Most kids weren't on that Wiz Khalifa pack like Salamander. I mean, this dude's parents were barely home, so mans must have just been low-key looking for attention by acting out. But instead, all he got was Snoop Dogg's tolerance and all the school thotties daily driving his dick. Some of you might not even know what it feels like when you smoke too much though. Shit, I know I didn't. My dumbass always just concluded that the stuff was laced, which looking back at it now makes me feel like a dinglebop for real. I mean, how you gonna smoke way more than you usually do in a situation you're not super comfortable in and then blame it on the weed? It's like a drunk driver suing an alcohol brand for making him unable to drive straight. Shit, it's like going to the store and buying too much food and then blaming the cashier for not stopping you. Like, bro, it's not on Jimmy the Plug God. Dudes is probably smoking the same stuff as we speak. And yeah, I know sometimes it could actually be laced, but what does telling yourself that help? Like, wouldn't it be better to believe it's not and your brain is just tweaking? Then you could maybe, you know, calm yourself down. Unlike when you've convinced yourself the Plug is a fucking supervillain going around giving his customers schizophrenia. Like, goddamn son, someone's gotta like the bat signal for real. But shit, I'm out here preaching like I ain't done this myself. Back when I was younger, I did green out a couple times, but since then, I have developed rules I follow to avoid this at all costs. Like, for example, first rule, you don't always gotta get obliviated, bruh. Seems simple enough, right? But back in the day, every time we were smoking, my dumbass felt like I had to get higher than last time. Once the J reached me, I just...
Thanks, bro. You guys got another one?
Bro. No. There's just some basic etiquette too, like everybody wanna get faded equally, but one thing with smokers is they're usually always chill and peaceful, so when you start hogging a spliff, rarely is somebody gonna forcefully take that shit from you. Just next time when you pull up, they'll bag your ass, pistol whip you, throw you in the trunk, and bury you alive next to Mr. Beast. That video would probably have to be on Rumble though. But point is, you don't always gotta be the highest in the room. Second rule, accept your limits. This is low-key the most important and the most difficult, but you might be thinking something like, don't you mean know your limits? No, I don't, bro. cause I bet most y'all know them. Just when you be watching Fulcrum smacking the Benjamin like that bitch be only containing O2, you get a false understanding on how much mofos be actually smoking. Cause you can always do more, but what you can't do is forcefully remove the THC from your system and get less high. So don't be a victim of peer pressure just cause you wanna be cool, fool. But these rules don't mean shit if you don't factor in where you are and what you're doing. Which leads me to the day that made me come up with these rules. The time in my young life when I smoked so much in the wrong place, I was goddamn obliviated. Shit, I smoked so much I had less dialogue options than an oblivion NPC. The first time I got high outside the comfort of me or a friend's crib, it was the usual business. We were chilling with the gremlins, me, Salamander, and Ricky, smoking up, talking about how we don't fall with school and how we finna make it out the hood. You know, the usual Gen Z shit. When Salamander, being the thotty magnet he was, got a text from one of his female companions inviting to what this motherfucker claimed to be a chill hangout spot. Although I do trust the homies, knowing Salamander's track record, I was a bit sus, cause I seen the places this dude hangs out at. I'll be waking up at the middle of the night to take a piss, then check the snap only to see dudes partying at some straight up trap house bugging off fucking ketamine. Okay, can't say that on YouTube, but let's just say it wasn't weed. Anyway, you know the drill. I don't wanna go, Salamander uses his 99 speech, convinces Ricky, now it's a 2v1, and I fold. Epic victory royale. But I agreed only under the condition that none of us drink nor do anything else but smoke the Lord's loud, because it was a motherfucking Thursday after all, so I wasn't trying to pull up to school smelling like a bum, acting like a depressed middle-aged man from The Hangover. Looking back at it though, that was probably the wrong call, cause, well, you'll see. So we're walking to the crib and Salamander lights up this comically big J that he rolled back at his place with a week's supply. While we're almost finished puffing and on the edge of obliviation, I see this super dope house that seems to be having a party, so I excitedly asked Salamander,
Yo, is that the spot? Bro, okay, that place does seem pretty dope.
"Oh yeah, that's the spot. Glad you fought with it. Some people are kinda put off by it from the initial appearance. Anyway, let's just go in."
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. You first though. Where are you going?
What do you mean? The crib, bro. Leave it to Salamander to have you walk through an amazing street filled with beautiful houses and lead you to the only one that looks like Shrek's vacation home. To add to it, me and Ricky were quite frankly bugging. But as I mentioned in the previous rules, that's not always a good thing, especially when you're preparing to go into a house where your brain has calculated a 50-50 chance of being stabbed in the gut by a freaking tweaker with a kitchen knife. In my head, I was thinking, well, hoping for the saying, don't judge a book by its cover to be the case here. But oh boy, I should have judged the goddamn book by its cover and dashed off like Prime Usain Bolt. Cause what we were dealing with was in every sense of the word except not containing any of the actual substance, I think, a crack house. These people were blasting some of the most disgusting music I've ever heard. Shit sounding like the noise a speaker makes when you fiddle with the aux cord. And because I was high, that set the whole tone of my experience there. And shit, I did not know Salamander hanged out with vampires. Most of the dudes there were looking what you would imagine the local bum to be when he was young. I was in total shock. My teenage brain could not comprehend the degeneracy, the idiocy, the overall lack of humanity in that house. And it's not like I didn't try to have fun, but our highness did not mix with whatever the fuck these guys were on. At some point, I saw him pull out a vodka bottle, and they drank the whole thing in 5 minutes dry, straight from the bottle, like they were trying to speedrun liver failure. I attempted to conversate with some of them, but to no avail. I mean, what did I expect though? A drunk person usually isn't on the same wavelength as a high person, combined with the fact these dudes probably just got done sacrificing a goat to bring forth the Antichrist. I was starting to tweak the fuck out. Well, not tweak, I guess. Me and Ricky did have some fun by just bantering about how messed up of a place we had found ourselves in. All of this didn't seem to affect Salamander though, as we spotted him rizzing up a girl we assumed was the one that invited him, but we were wrong in that assessment because 5 minutes later the girl who actually invited him saw it, went up to him, yelled at him, and then slapped that man so hard it made him rethink his whole damn life. Cause as we were laughing at what had happened, he walked straight towards us and said, "Man, you guys want to do some ketamine?" Nah, he actually told us that this was probably a bad idea and that he's ready to leave if we are. Good thing too, cause if that girl hadn't slapped some sense into him, Salamander might have gone on to do the thing I mentioned like 3 times in this video. So anyway, we went back home at like 2 AM or something, put on some WWE on the TV, prepared to gleep, and got obliviated. Doesn't go much further than that. Shout out to Fulcrum.
Sometimes you do stuff that you shouldn't do, or at least you thought you shouldn't do, like mixing a mega pack of magic mushrooms with a ton of ultra fine Amsterdam Zaza. But I'll be damned if I was gonna give up on my one chance of pushing the limits of wonder and end up being some grumpy old man talking about what could have been.
When I was your age.
Shut up, Grandpa. When you was my age, you was a scarf knitting, romance watching, Toyota Prius driving, zero hoes getting pussy. Now shut up and give me my $20 birthday money, you fool. Anyway, so it begins with me and my brother in Amsterdam, yet again. It's our last day there and we're looking to end this trip off with a bang. We stumbled into one of those magic stores that sold all of these crazy substances, literally shelves stocked with little vials of liquid that had specific effects comparable to every drug you can think of. But we had our eyes set on something a little more natural, a little more psychedelic. A mega pack of Space Hawaiians. We grabbed those shrooms and brought them up to the counter, feeling like some kids at a toy store buying their first Beyblades. So, how much should we take? All of it? What's the trip like? Cool. Anything else we should know? Don't be a pussy, I guess. Can we mix this with the Zaza? No, do not mix it with the Zaza. Okay. Jeez, can't be that bad. Okay. Well, if you want to end up like that guy, be my guest. But no, you were warned. So anyway, we got the shrooms and left the store, but after what that guy said, I was low-key scared of these things, and on our way to the hotel, I started Googling like a machine, reading every forum post about mixing shrooms and weed, and well, I'd say about 80% said not to do it, but man, the other 20% were hyping it up like crazy, saying that it was the coolest experience they've ever had, and how you become one with the universe or some shit. We got to the hotel and instantly downed those Space Hawaiians, and started waiting for it to kick. Hey, is it hitting it? Nah, not yet. You feel anything? Nah, still nothing. Then bang! Bruh, I'm feeling it. Yeah, boy. We started doing the usual mushroom things, like looking at stuff, thinking about stuff, talking about stuff. But after a while, we got the genius idea to go to the red light district. If you don't know what that is, well, it's pretty much a street full of sex workers lined up trying to get you to come pay for that sloppy toppy 5,000. We went outside and brought our massive joint with us and started walking to where the hoes at, literally, and start puffing that hash. Mind that we are already completely shroomed up, so I'm a little worried about what this gonna do to us. It's either gonna be cool as fuck or not so cool. So by the time we arrived at our destination, we had smoked that spliff to non-existence, and man, I was high. I was so high that I thought I was in a fucking cartoon. Like actually, the world didn't look how it usually looked. I felt like me and my brother were pretty much aliens walking among these local people trying to fit in. The building seemed tilted and people's faces were blurry to me. But thankfully that didn't freak me out because I was just so amazed of how goddamn soinked I was. At some point I started really feeling my brain. Like not just a piece of meat in my skull, but the neurons that were constantly firing off. Meaning if I thought about moving my hand, I could feel my brain sending out the signal and how the electric pulse traveled through my body into my hand. So basically what I'm saying is, I felt like I was actually controlling this giant piece of meat that is my body like a goddamn mech suit. Anyway, what made this whole experience so trippy was the things we saw. The sex workers in the district were sitting or standing right behind these big windows and always had a red light to signal that they're here for business. But they seemed more like dolls than humans. They all looked the same. Giant fake lips, face painted with tons of makeup, and these skimpy ass dresses. Not gonna lie bro, it was low key freaking us out. Cause every time you walked past one of them, they looked at you, staring with those doll eyes, waiting for you to come closer so they can suck out your soul. Nah, they don't actually do that, but you know, that's the type of stuff you might believe if you mix cannabis with shrooms. We ended up walking around for like 1.5 hours until we got tired and went back to the hotel. But bro, those 1.5 hours, I swear, I was not on planet Earth. That mixture must have teleported me to the amazing world of Gumball universe or some shit, cause no way the things I felt and saw were of this world. But overall, we didn't freak out or have a bad trip or anything, so I'd rate this trip a 10 out of 10. Cause we had no issues really. After getting back to the hotel, we had the usual munchies and sleepiness. So really, that kush helped us out. Cause my experience with shrooms until this point was they don't let you sleep. but thanks to that fine natural grass, I slept like a baby. 10,000 BC, a group of cavemen in the Oki Islands of Japan needed some warmth and wanted to start a fire when they discovered a funny looking green plant, and either out of curiosity or desperation took it and inadvertently created history's first ever hotbox. Yet this early grass was not that loud that people be smoking today, because as we know, over the years the za has been scientifically and artificially cultivated to be much more concentrated in the high it gives. So although it is funny to think about a group of cavemen purposely starting a fire in a small shelter for the sole purpose of getting faded in a hoe, it is unlikely that it actually ever happened. Yet aside from this iffy recreational stint in Japan, hemp was first commonly used in the lands that are modern day Mongolia and China for more practical uses like eating it. Which, after saying that, you might be imagining something like this. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Had any fun with those new seeds I gave you?
Yo, nah, I actually came here to give them back. Last night I was looking at the moon and I swear that motherfucker was looking right back at me.
But alas, this probably wasn't the reality because the THC levels in this early cultivated Zaza were just really low, but soon the Chinese would discover that the holy plant's fibers were also great for making stuff too, like clothes, paper, and bowstrings. Which turns out hemp fibers were superior to the bamboo ones used by rivaling factions, allowing the Chinese to shoot their arrows much further. So basically, back in the day, if you were having a long distance bow battle and were losing, you might have screamed out, "We need to get closer! These motherfuckers have weed!" Anyway, it wasn't long after mofos realized that the loud wasn't only good for making stuff, it was also great for treating physical maladies. And after a couple thousand years, Emperor Shen Nung, known as the father of Chinese medicine, included the magic plant in his medical encyclopedia under the name Ma. Which, that sounds oddly similar to Za, doesn't it? I'm guessing every couple thousand years the first letter changes or something. But now, let's explore the question we're all asking. When exactly did mofos start ripping that shit to get faded? Well, one of the earliest counts is about 2,500 years ago, when researchers discovered 10 mini barbecues in a cemetery near modern-day Tajikistan that had residue of burnt cannabis with a much higher concentration of THC than normal, probably meaning it was selectively bred to get you, well, lit. Although this was one of the first counts of people purposely inhaling the broccoli to get high, it was most likely used as part of a ritual to invoke an altered state of mind, so you could communicate with spirits. Which shit, dog, I wanna know what these dudes were smoking, cause I ain't never heard of no grass that gets you to the spirit realm. This might have low-key been the last kush Snoop Dogg smoked, cause once you get so high you start communicating with your dead gran-gran, that's when you really might be like, okay, I think it's about time I stop smoking this shit. Since cannabis, for one reason or another, proved to be quite the useful plant, people started trading it around the world as soon as it was domesticated. Which the only people who didn't really fuck with the Zaza were Europeans, who preferred getting hammered instead. Which is low-key reflected in modern times too, especially in the northern countries where once you turn 18, you can drink as much poison as you want, but if you want to blaze, well, you might be looking at a little bit of jail time, my boy. But now, let's quickly go over the uses of cannabis throughout different cultures so we can move on to the modern age, starting with Hindus. They made something called bang, an edible cannabis paste that had medicinal properties but also got you high. This could be added to a variety of foods and drinks, which this bang was the preferred food of the Hindu god Shiva, making him in my eyes the god of edibles. Disclaimer, that was a joke. Islam. Here the za was called hashish and was introduced about 1,000 years ago, which hashish wasn't strictly forbidden in the Quran at first, so a lot of Muslims ate it for its medicinal and relaxation properties. But later, Egypt basically banned it, and also the Quran was revisited by many and reinterpreted to include hashish to be banned just like alcohol. The Vikings. These dudes basically used the za to make rope, sailcloth, and other things, but also for its medicinal properties, mostly to relieve pain, and to date, there's no hard evidence that they consumed it for its recreational use, but you know. Maybe they should have, because they were quite the horrendous savages and murderers, so it might have made them think a little bit about peace and love. But what about America, England, and the actual global world powers? How did they react to weed? Well, again, like the Chinese, Europeans and Americans at first prominently used the magic green plant in the 16th to 18th century for more practical things like making sailcloth and rope. which the plant itself grew much larger in the New World soil, and combined with the practicality of it, everything started being hemp-derived. Clothes, paper, well, basically anything that required fibers. But the question still remains, when did mofos start smoking that shit to get blasted on the regular? Cause although at some point you, your neighbor, your grandma, your boss, and even George Washington were out here growing weed, wasn't nobody out here rolling them up. Well, until the arrival of Mexicans. The loud version of hemp first arrived in Brazil in the early 1500s by way of enslaved Africans traveling with the Portuguese. And the native South Americans, who are already consuming some other psychoactive substances, quickly started blazing the Zaza too, and its use soon spread across South America and into Mexico, from which in the 1910s is when the loud first spread into the US, via Mexican immigrants escaping the effects of the Mexican Revolution. And almost immediately the good was viewed as a threat, and by 1931, 29 states had banned its use. Although it wasn't really the Zaza that the US didn't fall with, it was unfortunately mostly just racism against Mexican Americans and black citizens of the South, which both these groups were enjoyers of the Zaza to some regard, so it became a scapegoat for racial bias in the US, and they blamed it for everything from petty crimes all the way to murder. And in 1937, the US completely banned all non-medical use of weed, which all of this kind of explains why the mostly peaceful plant has been thrown in the same Schedule 1 category with full-on life-destroying substances like heroin and cocaine. But thankfully, a couple decades later came the hippie movement of the 1960s to 1970s. This is what likely sparked the comeback for weed, cause unlike before, when the Zaza was mostly smoked by Mexican immigrants and black citizens who the US was massively racist against, the hippie movement had middle-class white American youth start blazing too. Which it was all about love, peace, spirituality, non-violence, and of course, every hippie's favorite, recreational drug use. Although most hippies were all about peace and love, that was quite easy to say when most of them were literally privileged enough to drop out of college, run off with Cassandra in a rainbow van, go on copious amounts of mindset-altering trips, mostly powered by LSD, and then return 10 years later to their parents and have them say,
"It's okay, son. I was young and stupid once too."
Anyway, although the grass was still federally illegal, this didn't really do much, cause in 1976, 1 in 8 Americans over the age of 12 admitted to smoking it in the past 30 days. Hippies though were especially interested in cannabis, so much so they went on something called the Hippie Trail, which was basically an excursion by the youths of the world to go over to the Middle East and India, all while riding in magic buses and discovering new ways to get absolutely blasted, such as smoking the concentrated Zaza resin known as hash. But acquiring the Zaza would soon get much harder, because you see, most of it came from Mexico, so in 1969 the US started patrolling the border, and in 1975 they got even more aggressive and started spraying herbicide on Mexican weed plants. And so good old supply and demand made grass prices skyrocket, which a lot of people started then growing the plant themselves in mini greenhouses, closets, bathtubs, storage units, basements, wherever they could. But then in 1982, Mr. Smarty Pants Ronald Reagan took it even a step further by encouraging the streamlined arrest of anyone in possession of an illegal substance, which was really dumb because most of the focus was on pot, all while crack, meth, and heroin were all still being transported and consumed on a regular basis. Even worse, this enforcement seemed to be racially motivated because despite plenty of traffickers and consumers being white, the majority of arrests were Latino and black youths, all while this bizarre over-focus on cannabis allowed the growing opioid epidemic to go unchecked. But thankfully, the US is slowly learning from their mistakes, where today 24 states have legalized the recreational use of marijuana. On top of that, the increased level of research on it has also found multiple medical use cases and can be prescribed to you by special doctors if seen fit. And although the Zaza is still federally illegal and a Schedule 1 drug, the overall perception of it has changed for the better, including in December 2022 when President Biden signed a bill to make it easier for researchers to obtain plants for their studies, which will hopefully accelerate the learning of positive and negative side effects of consuming the Za even further. But all that aside, the overall vibe towards the loud has gotten a lot more accepting, and these days more and more people view the smoking of the grass not as you being a junkie, but the same way as having a couple beers with the homies on a Friday night and watching some WWE.
Have you ever been baked and thought, damn bruh, I'm bored? Yeah, me neither, but here are my 5 favorite things to do that just mix perfectly with being high. Number 1. Munching.
Obviously, this one's a no-brainer, but I gotta mention it. Who doesn't love buying a whole birthday cake and a 20-piece chicken nugget special, then proceeding to annihilate your whole daily calorie intake in about 20 minutes? And the crazy part is that I let my body digest that kilogram of munch for like 30 minutes and I'm right back to hungry again. There is the risk of overeating and getting a stomach ache, which can really ruin your high, but that's pretty easily avoidable with the OP skill called jugging water. Pretty much, just drink some water every 5 minutes of munching and you physically can't get to a point where your stomach gets cramped, cause it's too busy being full of that health potion called H2O. Number 2, going outside with the homies. Now this one has a high cooldown, meaning if you do it for multiple days in a row, it'll get progressively more boring. But I think the most important factors for if you find it fun or not is what people are you with and your stoner power level. Now, your stoner power level is determined by the strength level of these 3 attributes: tolerance, confidence, and not giving a fuck. With tolerance comes experience, and with experience comes confidence, and with confidence comes the power to remain calm in every situation. So basically what I'm saying is, if you're baked out of your mind and you see some sleep paralysis demon type shit, you gotta be high enough stoner power level so you can remain calm and just go jump that goofy looking fool. Overall, this is a high risk, high reward activity, as if something crazy happens, you'll probably remember that night for the rest of your life. But if nothing interesting occurs, at the end of it, you'll be regretting not staying home and having a munch session. Number 3. Playing video games. This one is something that mixes quite well with being baked, cause a lot of times after a few puffs of that sweet magic hash, you get real tired. But nobody wants to just go to sleep and waste their high, so now you got 2 options. Lay on your bed and watch the day fly by, or get on Discord with the boys and play some. Whatever really, you're baked, man. Every game feels like playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare for the first time. And bro, on God, I be playing Valorant and be having some cyborg eagle focus. Out here hitting clip after clip, feeling like I'm Shroud out here in these lobbies. All that being said, the best thing about gaming on the moon is that you literally never get tilted. Or I don't know if it's just me, but I can be on a 5-game losing streak, on the verge of getting D-ranked, all the homies are arguing in the voice chat, and I'm just like, hey yo, guys, chill. We got the next one. We just gotta play as a team, that's all.
Shut up, dumbass. You're the one who keeps bottom fragging.
Number 4. Watching comedy movies or stand-up comedy. This used to be one of my favorites, but man, I've watched every good comedy movie that's ever been produced. Honestly, I've watched most of the bad ones too. A new thing I've been recently discovering though is stand-up comedy. And to be fair, it's good, but it just don't have the same it factor that something like the OG Pineapple Express had back in the day. That could be just a nostalgia talking, but I remember watching it when I was like 14 and it was just a straight banger. Crazy part is, I wasn't even high. One thing though that stand-up comedy got that movies don't is that you don't have to focus on it to understand. Cause at some point anything you watching just kinda becomes background noise to your thoughts. And it's good if you can shift in and out of focus while still understanding what's going on. Hey bro, you good? You kinda just been staring at the wall for an hour. Yeah man, I'm good. Just thinking, that's all. Quick tip before we move on to number 5. Adam Sandler. This man only makes bangers. He's just incapable of missing, especially if you get baked before watching him. Number 5. Listening to music and just vibing. This one can be a little controversial if you don't live alone, firstly because it is not something a non-baked human would consider as a normal pastime activity, but shit, when I'm suited and I suddenly remember a great song from my childhood or something and start vibing to the music video, I'll be feeling like I'm right there with my man Eminem rapping about being the real one out of all these fake shadies. This is also one of those rare activities where there is literally no downside to being as baked as humanly possible. What I mean is if you're just high, every lyric and instrumental connects with you. When you're at the level above high, you'll be feeling like you're right there with the artists. You go even one step further, and now there is officially a full-blown music festival going on right in front of your living room mirror, and you're at the main stage with thousands of fans cheering your name. Just remember to be mindful of how loud you're being, cause nobody wants to deal with an angry neighbor, especially when you're suited out of your mind. So, you've made it all the way here. Well, thanks to that, you get to discover the secret 6th activity on the list. Number 6. Getting more high. You might say this is obvious, and it just may be, but there's a certain sense of exploration and wonder in trying to reach new heights and go beyond the limits of the mortal man. Also, this isn't as easy as it might sound, because if you're a daily smoker, your built-up tolerance just won't allow it. That means you gotta take a tolerance break for at least 2 weeks to even think about doing this activity. But oh boy, once you meet the criteria for this one, it sure is one hell of a fun time. Unless you have a bad trip or something. But shit, just don't be a pussy and you'll be fine.
The line between a fun high and a you done high is very thin, and that shit is no joke. Sometimes all it takes is just one extra puff. And that's when I finally realized that dude was not talking about no Coca-Cola to drink.
Wait, but I did buy this weed from him. I wonder if...
No, wait, it can't be.
Everybody stop right now! I think we're all smoking crack! Hey, yo, see, you got any more of that weed you gave me yesterday? Oh, it's really good shit. Yeah, I really like it. Hey, yo, I see you have some. Hey, yo, give me, I'll give you anything. I'll fucking suck your dick.
And that's exactly why you can never trust a plug who also sells that Coca-Cola, if you know what I'm saying. But your weed being laced with a substance that'll change the chemistry of your brain and make the pursuit of your dreams and happiness into the pursuit of concentrated 1900s Coca-Cola and ruin your life forever is the least of your worries when you smoke up with a bunch of sad boys. Now, don't get me wrong, mental health is very important and you should never keep everything inside because your loved ones want to help you. But bro, ever since Juice WRLD dropped Lucid Dreams, motherfuckers will find any reason to be depressed.
I still see your shadows in my room. Can't take back the love that I gave you.
Yo, what's going on with you, bro? Like, you've been acting really sad as of late.
You wouldn't understand. I'm depressed. There's just no point to anything.
Wait, but you weren't depressed 2 days ago. Oh, you're on a sad boy phase.
Sad boy? No! Oh, fuck, I guess I am.
Yeah, bro, how about we go to Salamander's place, get obliterated, and play some Super Smash Bros. Instead of whatever the fuck you're doing here?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Yeah, let's just get out of here.
1 hour later.
So, Ricky, you still sad? Nah, I'm having a blast. Wait, but you were saying something about, like, someone's shadows you were still seeing in your room?
I don't want to talk about that.
And that's the story of how we were able to stop Ricky from becoming a full-time sad boy, just in the nick of time. But besides almost losing a friend to the song Sad! There have been 2 extremely scary highs I have gone through. One was instigated by the Popo, man, fuck the police! And the other was from the fear of losing my life. Let me set the scene for you. I'm in high school and I've smoked maybe 3 or 4 times ever, but the last time I did was months ago, so my tolerance was damn near at the level of smelling some grass and getting faded. Anyway, so I had a couple friends who have been asking me relentlessly to get some and get faded because they didn't know any plugs and really wanted to try it. So one weekend I decided to finally fulfill their request and hit up my homie Salamander and acquired the exotic. The weekend came and we found ourselves in my dorm room rolling a J, which, well, I had rolled it and it took me a while because my stats were low AF. Basically, I was out there trying to pick an expert level lock with 0 points in perception, dog. After going through 20 papers, the abomination was ready though, so we went deep into the local park and sparked it. Barely, because that shit had almost 0 airflow. I had to relight the damn thing after every puff. Yet that was definitely not even close to the worst part, because these motherfuckers who were begging me to get the Zon in the first place were scared shitless to get high, so I ended up smoking like 80% of the J myself, leaving me absolutely zoinked in a group where nobody else wasn't. So you can imagine I was feeling pretty betrayed, and also a bit scared, because if you've ever been obliterated in a group where no one else is, you know that you feel kind of like an alien abandoned by your comrades in a hostile planet, and that feeling was amplified by the fact that these friends of mine were kind of dickheads. Because after puffing down the J, we went to the local gas station to get some munchies, and of course I was fiending for some trans fat, so I asked them if they could go in there and bring me the stuff I wanted, and I'd of course pay them back. Pretty reasonable and easy, right? Being that I was the only one who was blasted and scared of getting caught. I guess fucking not, because these pussios who didn't even inhale the fucking weed told me that they wouldn't bring me anything if I didn't come in, which, I mean, these days I wouldn't mind, but I was like 17 and it was a Friday night, the prime time for cop patrol, so I had no choice and went in there tweaking out of my mind like...
Oh fuck, this place is full. Shit. Wait, it feels like they're all staring at me. No, I think I'm just high. Okay, let's just get out of here. I'm not gonna order anything. Okay, fine. Go to the corner.
Hey, yo, bro, I'm gonna just take some chips and candy, okay? And can you give me the car keys so I can just wait it out in the car while you guys wait for your food? Yeah.
No.
What? Why? I'm not even gonna turn it on, bro.
Cause, bro, I got an announcement to make. This motherfucker high as...
Bro, shut the fuck up! That ain't funny. I'm baked as fuck, you pussy.
Okay, but yeah, you're not getting the keys.
So basically, these scumbags just decided to torture me, and because I had to wait for their food anyway, I went to order some too, and as I was doing so, 3 girls from my school approached me at the counter and were like, yeah, I'll have a dog.
Hey, see, haven't you guys smoked some weed, yeah?
Well, no, I'll have the dumplings, yeah. But yeah, we definitely did.
We're all super duper sober bober.
Yeah, you did. Dwayne said so. You got some left? You can come to our place if you have some. We really want to get faded too.
And in that moment, I had to pause and rethink my whole life because I did not in fact have any left because I wasted it all on my rinky-dinky sausage party bum fun enjoying friends. Which if I would have had some left, I could have gone to these girls' crib and smoked up with free hot chicks. But no, I donated all the weed to Dumber, and me, the dumbest. And after that realization of alliances, I changed the famous saying, bros before hoes, to bros who aren't hoes before bros. And I live by that to this day. But the scariest part was yet to come, because as I was waiting for my food posted up at the ice cream station, a cop walked in. And that just set my tweak meter to a whole new level. I felt my heart rate spike to like 200 and I was shaking just begging God for him not to walk towards me. But he fucking did. I avoided eye contact at all costs, but it seemed he had his eyes set on me. He got closer and closer until he was standing right in front of me.
Fuck, why is he here? He knows I'm faded, doesn't he? Oh shit, I'm fucked. I'm going to juvie. This is over. Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die. Yes, officer?
Could you move out of the way, please? I want some ice cream.
Yeah, of course. My bad.
Thanks. Nothing better than some good old Ben & Jerry's to complement a sour diesel joint. Shit, fucking fire.
Okay, the last part maybe didn't happen, okay? Anyway, the build-up, the weed, the cop, everything combined gave me some of the worst anxiety I've ever had. But the relief when he just wanted some ice cream was equally amazing. I had gotten away from this horrid situation, and once we got our food, we went to a hangout spot where I got really cold and tweaked again. Overall, I'd rate the high a 7 out of 10 just because it was eventful and I got a nice adrenaline dump, but it would have been a damn 9.5 if your boy could have gone to the girl's crib and got faded with some hot females instead of my pussy friends, goddamn. Although this high was quite stressful, it did have its highlights.
I think we've all been to a carnival at least once in our lives. They are usually very, well, fun is the wrong word to describe it. I'd say interesting, I guess. So when my main man Salamander hit me up a couple years back and was like, "Hey yo bro, have you been to the town square? It's that time of year again." What time of year? New Year's a ways away, bruh. Nah, bruh, even better. What could be better than New Year's Eve? Bro, the carnival. The carnival? Yeah, man, the carnival. That's kinda gay, bruh. Man, shut up, fool. You just mad cause you ain't got no hoes. You ain't got no hoes either, man. What about that girl at the party last week? Bro, you were so wasted you ain't even remember that it was the host's mom trying to escort you out. Fool. Okay, whatever, man. You wanna come or not? Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass. Shit's a waste of money and I'm dead broke. We can get high before at my place, you know. Shit, why you ain't say that before? I'm in. I love the carnival. I've always loved the carnival, man. Salamander had kind of a funky home situation, so a lot of times he had a completely free house, which meant that getting high there was always awesome, cause there was just so much to do in that big ass house. Anyway, I pull up to his place, and if you saw my last video, you know that this man rolls the most perfect spliffs in existence, and this time was no different. Bam! Whips that big old thing out. No homo. And we puff that ganja stick till it's a stinger. Honestly, we probably smoked half the filter too, cause in high school, weed was so valuable that even when you could clearly tell there ain't no Zaza left, someone was always like,
Hey yo bro, what you doing? There's a good 2 to 3 puffs left in that thing. I'ma hand bong it. All you bro. All you. Anyway, we get zoinked and I'm honestly feeling good. Like I ain't smoked too much nor too little, but just right. For now. We start walking to the carnival and I'm starting to get more high. But I know that's just cause I ain't laying on the couch eating Oreos no more and I'm actually outside embarking on a quest with my guide Salamander. So we get to the carnival and man, this place ain't what it used to be. I guess that's probably cause all of the animal right movements and stuff, but it looks like a retirement home for washed up circus clowns. Speaking of clowns, there was obviously also a circus show that was gonna be happening soon, so we went ahead and bought some cotton candy and popcorn and sat down waiting for it to start. Hey, it's starting bro, check it out, this finna be fire. And the way Mans was hyping it up, I couldn't help but get a little excited too, cause after all, I do have some great memories of circus shows from when I was a kid, and as we all know, there ain't no better combo than Kush and nostalgia. Except for maybe Kush and Twinkies. Anyway, they start announcing the show. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have all been waiting for. The tamer of lions. The conqueror of the jungle. The one and only Magistro! Bruh, who the fuck is that guy? Man looks like Joe Biden's less successful brother. Shit, man, you right. I might have overhyped the carnival a bit, I guess. You wanna leave? Nah, bro, it's alright. This finna be funny as hell. Maybe I'll even do a flip. Now, there are 2 ways something can be entertaining. Either it's well thought out and executed, or it's a complete disaster and so bad that it's good. And this carnival show was the latter. We were sat there laughing like maniacs from how much they hyped this man Magistro up on everything he did and how anticlimactic it all turned out to be. Even though it did hurt to watch my childhood memories of lions jumping through fire hoops and acrobats doing quadruple backflips whilst riding on a horse destroyed by the one and only Magistro, it was still funny as fuck.
The first high, a core memory, and whether you enjoyed it or not doesn't really matter, cause for 95% of people, their first time literally shapes their entire opinion on the grass. Almost everybody who isn't age 50 or over and says,
weed is the work of the devil, it should be more illegal than even meth.
Well, actually it is. The ZA is Schedule 1 and meth is Schedule 2, so...
Yeah, that's right. That's why I love America. Greatest damn country in the world.
USA! USA! USA!
Anyway, what I was saying was that most people who tweak their first time are put off by it for a while and shape into ZA haters, and people who have fun their first time, believe it or not, don't all become mindless junkies who eat Little Caesars and watch SpongeBob all day. Rather, when asked their opinion on weed, they'll probably just say,
my stomach turned into an endless void with an unquenchable hunger for anything edible, which was followed by a sleepiness so uncontrollable I passed out halfway into my 25th Twinkie. It was pretty fun.
So obviously me, CBDBro, who runs an entire YouTube channel dedicated to the green plant, must have had the latter experience, right? Well, not really. As you see, when I was but a wee lad, uncontaminated by the forbidden fruits of the world like alcohol, nicotine, and yes, weed, always believed that alcohol makes you homeless, nicotine makes you a little bitch, and weed makes you lazy. Thinking that, I didn't want to waste not just my first high, but my very first time feeling anything besides normal on eating Doritos and watching Family Guy. Which, after turning 17, I decided it was about time I lost my substance virginity and planned to do so on Christmas dinner, where I was gonna let El Marijuana put its big, fat, thick, juicy, delicately rolled J in my mouth, but only after I had eaten, as I believed if my tummy was full, I wouldn't get the munchies and could instead contemplate the meaning of life my time high. And thankfully, I had an older brother who was more than willing to give me a puff or two from his Christmas dinner J for $4, the fucking cheapskate. So we went upstairs and started puffing, which Rezex was instantly bamboozled from the magic grass. Nice, it's not a dud. Now it's my turn. I grabbed the J and puffed until I could puff no more, and the result was I didn't feel a damn thing. Still had to pay the $4 though. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, as we went through the day, I got increasingly more jealous of my brother, who by his words was fried AF. I was beginning to think maybe I'm immune to getting high, which after telling my brother this theory, he concluded that I'm stupid and just didn't inhale the za in my lungs, and so generously told me to follow him upstairs where he gave me a couple more puffs. For an extra $4, the damn venture capitalist. As I was smoking away, keeping in mind to inhale it all the way down to my lungs, I still wasn't feeling anything, and my hopes of getting fried AF were beginning to look more like a distant dream. When I finished puffing, I sat down at the computer to look at some of those watch while high videos, and my brother asked me, "So, do you feel anything now?" No, I don't. What's this weird I'm not sure. I don't know, seems to me you're fried like some Kentucky chicken, boy. I was indeed fried, and incredibly so. Although I didn't smoke a ton, my body had never experienced anything besides a sugar rush and maybe a caffeine kick. So as I was watching this watch while you're high video, I was laughing at everything and was tripping the fuck out. But not in a bad way, it was freaking amazing. Being high was what I always imagined it to be until... bloop. I'm sober again. Yeah, you heard right. My first high lasted like 30 seconds, and in an instant, I was back to normal, which I don't know why. Even to this day, when I tell people about this, nobody can relate because no one has experienced this phenomenon. But since I'm a scientist, I have developed a super duper concrete theory backed by quantum mechanics and the late great Stephen Hawking on my experience, and overall the reason why a lot of people who smoke their first time don't feel anything. I theorize that all humans have a natural block against foreign substances, a wall per se, and when an individual inhales za, the particles act kind of like micromissiles targeting your cannabinoid receptors. For the people whose defensive wall is strong enough, it will stop all perpetrators attempting to infiltrate your brain. But this wall isn't regeneratable, so if the micromissiles fail to get you fried at first, the next time they'll have an easier time against your already damaged wall of defense. Now, I bet you're thinking to yourself, this mofo been smoking too much of that Einstein pack. And to you, I say maybe, but also I have practical proof of this theory. I used to be a pro baller, and one day me and a couple hooper friends who all have great immune systems and therefore probably good za defensive walls decided to smoke up, and to my buddies, it was their first time. Once we lit the J and passed it around, I made sure to tell everybody to inhale the smoke in their lungs, which I'm pretty sure they all did, but still, I was the only one who got high, cause it wasn't my first time. But when I smoked up with some of my non-athlete first-timer friends, they all got high like normal. So, conclusion, defensive za wall is a real thing and I stand by my theory. Anyway, although that was my first time feeling high, I wouldn't call it my first high because it only lasted for half a minute. My first real high experience was something even more memorable and etched to my brain until I die. A couple weeks after the last incident, me and Riz X decided it was about damn time I actually felt the true loving touch of the Mary Jane. And this time, instead of having only scraps of za, we bought a whole gram to hopefully destroy my highly speculative za wall. I think it's real. Also, at this time, we were obsessed with freestyle rapping, so we decided the plan of action was to smoke up, eat candy, and rap battle to copyright-free beats while recording it so we could listen to our unreleased tracks in the morning. Since our parents were away for the night, we got the whole apartment to ourselves and planned on rolling 2 J's, both containing 0.5 G's. Since we were petrified at the thought of getting caught blazing, instead of being sensible and smoking the J's near a window and just blowing the smoke out, we put our jackets on and walked 500 feet away from the apartment to light up, just to be sure that there wouldn't even be a microfiber of evidence that we were smoking the devil's lettuce. As we were consuming the J, all I could hope for was that this time I wouldn't just get a limited free trial, but the actual full version. But alas, when we finished puffing the J, I again felt nothing, or at least that's what I thought, cause as we arrived back home, I finally realized that, so you feeling it? Yeah, kinda. Sometimes the high hits you a couple minutes later, especially if you're going from outdoors to indoors as we did. And my highly accepted theory in the science community about this phenomenon is that through evolution, we have always considered indoors to be our safe zone and outdoors dangerous. Therefore, when you're outside, your brain doesn't allow the full faded and relaxed effect to take over, probably in anticipation of a roadman coming and chefing you up with the mandem. Okay, this one I'm not so confident in, and I have to come clean. I am in no shape or form associated with the science community. Yet. Anyway, now that we were high and in the living room, we started putting on some beats and freestyling, and to this day, I have yet to replicate the skill and precision of my flow that high. It's hard to explain, but nowadays, I can't rap for shit. I mean, I'll spit one line and be like, yo, I've been getting money making racks, cause you know I'm flipping packs. That's facts. Yeah, that's it. Basically, I run out of rhymes pretty fast, but that day, I did not. In fact, even when my brain had nothing to say, my mouth rapped it for me. I turned into a freestyling robot and became dead sure that I was gonna make it out by dropping a mixtape and becoming a famous rapper. Until we listened to the recording in the morning and realized, yo, flowing on the go, your girl she a hoe, making money dancing with a pole, my girl making dough while doing lines of blow, cause we in the penthouse, baby, living life, and that's for show.
Yeah, I'll try YouTube instead.
What's crazy though is that after that, I was never able to replicate the auto-rapping again, so my rap career never flowered, but who knows, maybe I'll try to convert this channel into lyric videos and shitposting, all while steadily alienating my audience and killing my channel. Or maybe I should just make a separate channel for that?
The wake and bake is a legendary art form created by humans of the highest intellect. The act of waking from one slumber and immediately entering into Yodi land is a sacred practice known only to the chillest of creatures. There has been a lot of controversy in the meaning of wake and bake. Some say it can only truly be called the holy practice if one smokes up immediately after awakening from dreamland. Others, including myself, believe it is not necessary to sleep next to your crusty last cleaned in 2007 smelling like a rotting can of tuna ass piece of glass. Cause I don't know about you, but personally I like to start my mornings off with something nice, like a coffee or some bacon and eggs, not the taste of water in my mouth whilst coughing my lungs out. I believe a true connoisseur won't partake in such barbaric activities and will at least put some pants on before smoking that doozy. Now, if you ever participated in the wake and bake, you will know that it hits differently than, let's say, an evening bake, but only if you got the whole day free, cause the Zaza will amplify your excitement for the coming day, or until you eat breakfast and pass out on your bed. Back in summer, I used to bake after the wake quite a bit. It was always really nice to just go outside to the warm sun while smoking that morning pack. And bro, don't get me started on those breakfast munchies. I'm usually the guy to only drink coffee or something for breakfast, but that early morning grass gets me on that Nicotine avocado pack, I swear.
Bro, how much are you going to eat?
Everything. And after a delightful breakfast like that, how can you be anything but energized? Nah, in reality, after destroying 2,000 calories of Twinkies, you're probably gonna pass out in 20 minutes. But that's why after the first couple times, I created the 3 golden rules of a productive wake and bake. Number 1. Don't have a demonic ritual that involves you sacrificing 15 hot pockets in your stomach.
But you just said that the breakfast munchies are nice.
Yeah, they are, but you have to treat the massive breakfast kind of like drinking alcohol. So you gotta understand the sacrifice you are making by having that giant breakfast. You are effectively done for the day, as you will most likely fall right back to sleep after, and then when you do wake up from your 3-hour morning nap, you'll feel all hazy and bad. Cause you just wasted your whole day. You lazy piece of shit. So if you wanna avoid that, don't wake in munch. Number 2. Make a plan the night before. Have goals set for the day. Basic stuff like buy groceries, maybe work out, hang with some friends, stuff like that. Cause when you have a plan the night before, you are much less likely to just sleep the whole day and then at night feel like a lazy fat tub of lard. But also keep in mind, you are supposed to have fun on a wake and bake, so don't make the objectives too hard cause you're probably just not gonna do them then. Some of my favorite wake and bake activities include going to the gym, playing a team sport, playing a story game, bathing in the sun, going to the store, hanging out with the homies, etc. Anyway, time for the last rule, which is number 3.
don't get obliterated on the wake and bake. So this one is kinda obvious, but important nonetheless. It might seem like a great idea to get zoinked up to nines on your first hit, but in reality, all that will do is spoil the plans you set the night before. Cause no matter how productive of a smoker you are, when you're faded to the max, there is about a 95% chance you'll tell yourself, ugh, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Which once evening rolls around, will hit you with that existential depression. And the only way to escape from that is with the purest form of productivity. We've all had it, we all know it. 2 a.m. motivation.
The drugs, the cigarettes, that dumb bitch. It all starts fucking today, alright? No more fucking excuses. This is the year of the fucking soldier.
And I mean, even though who doesn't love a bit of midnight motivation, it won't get you anywhere in the long term, and really is usually just a sign of doing nothing useful during the day. But hey, if you follow these 3 golden rules, I'm sure your future wake and bakes will be much more productive and fun. At least I hope so. Everybody's first time doing edibles is always the same. First you eat them, then you wait for like 25 minutes, then you confidently proclaim, "These edibles ain't shit."
Bruh.
And then for the next couple hours, you just drift away further and further into that. The government are reptiles, the ocean is fake, the earth is a cube, and I must slay the ender dragon tonight. In my case, my first edibles really weren't shit, cause we accidentally might have forgotten them in the oven and burnt that THC into CO2, but we didn't let that discourage us from trying again the next day. So me and my brother, still fueled by the disappointment of yesterday, wake up at 9 a.m. and start plotting our next move. We only have 1 gram left, so if this fails, we're pretty much screwed. One thing you might not know about making edibles is if you're throwing straight grass in the oven like we did, then be prepared for the whole house to smell like Snoop Dogg's living room. So we had to carefully time our cooking so that when our parents got home, the house wouldn't smell like the plug's car, if you know what I mean. And this time, we did everything right, and after an hour of feeling like the stoner versions of Gordon Ramsay, we held the finished product in our hands. But before we devoured the THC cookies, we decided to go to Grandma's place, because she lived in the countryside and it was a beautiful day, so we thought it would be nice and chill there. Also, Grandma always is strapped way up with the candy, the cakes, the chicken, the steak. She got all the munch a man could ask for. So we're driving 20 minutes away and decide to eat them Eddies, so that by the time we're there, it should start kicking. Yet, when we arrive, we still feel nothing. We say hi to Grandma and sit down in the living room. Bro, maybe we messed him up again. Nah, I don't think so. We did everything by the recipe this time. Yeah, let's wait a little more. It's been 40 minutes though. Should be feeling something at least. Yeah, I feel you. Well, anyway, I'm gonna go take a shit. So I hop in the bathroom to empty my system real quick, and I suddenly feel it.
Bruh.
Then I hear some music coming from the living room and get intrigued. I finish my business with the toilet and go to the living room to find my brother jamming it out to some old ass radio playing some Elvis Presley or something. I wanna call him a dumbass, but I can't, cause my body starts moving by itself. This music is peak, there is nothing better. Until the next old song comes on, and it slaps harder than Chris Brown in 2009. I'm obviously talking about his music in 2009, not the incident with Rihanna. At some point, we had had enough of the old-timey radio, so we turned it off and sat down on the couch to discuss our next move. So, how high are you? Yeah, I'm high. Yeah, me too. Real question is, do we take the second cookie? Now, we had baked 4 edibles total, so we had 2 left. We didn't plan on eating them that day though, because from what we had heard, edibles are supposed to hit their max in like 3 hours after consumption, so obviously I answered, I think we should, bro, for science. We took the second cookies out of their folium wrapping and ate them with some milk. Then we decided to go swimming, cause shit, why not I guess. As we're walking to the pond, I suddenly think to myself, am I cold? And then it hits. I start shivering and feeling like a warm pizza roll in the freezer. I'm not supposed to be here. I can't go on, I say. I'm too cold. My brother looks at me with disappointment in his eyes like, so that's all you can take? A tinsy-pincy little edible and you get scared of the cold, eh? Now, keep in mind, this was when I was 18 and I wasn't quite the 420 god I am today, so I had this thing where if I got really high and it wasn't walk around in your boxers type of warm, I'd start overthinking that I'm cold and then I'd actually start feeling cold. But I said to myself, no, I won't let these edibles control me.
and I decided to push through the unwavering cold and fight my inner demons at the little pond over there. So we pull up to the pond and it's time to go swimming. And it wasn't that bad actually. The water was pretty warm, and once I got used to it, I stopped shivering. So pretty much the edibles had cured my crippling fear of the cold. We start walking back to the house, and so far I thought I was suited to the max, but then the second Eddie kicks. And bro, this was the high I had read about but never believed in. It was psychedelic. My vision was crazy, like everything was 30 FPS and I could see an after image of my hand when I moved it. So at this point, there was no way I was doing anything else, so we went upstairs to our room and just started doing the randomest stuff, like inspecting objects, looking at the ceiling, munching. But the one thing I did that I don't recommend doing at this stage was looking in the damn mirror. It was crazy. I was not moving in sync with myself, and I felt like the mirror version of me was from the other side, like Stranger Things or some shit. After like 30 minutes of doing things, we got really tired. Just standing up and functioning had become an immeasurably difficult task. So even though it was only 9 PM, we decided to call it a day. But I couldn't sleep. These two monster cookies got me overthinking everything, laying on the bed, eyes wide open like, bro, what if that really was the Stranger Things version of me? What if he's waiting for me to fall asleep? I don't want to go to the shitty other side. I don't know any plugs there. Where am I gonna get my weed? And when I finally did try to close my eyes, I started tripping way out. Half asleep, half awake, seeing these vivid dreams. Thankfully, at some point I did fall asleep. And not just any sleep, I went into freaking hibernation, cause I was out cold for a calm 16 hours. So I'd say lesson of the story is, if it's your first time doing edibles, wait like at least 2 hours before you proclaim the classic, these edibles ain't shit.